Promo code LIBERTY.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Clouds and some sun, windy and warm. A high today 87. Periods of rain, thunderstorm. It'll be breezy tonight. Could be some pounding on the roads, low 58. Rain, thunderstorm for tomorrow, then a leftover shower, high 66. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. The technical workshop continues around here. All right. So last June, it was Ed Burke, his turn to lob letters of support and pleas of leniency in the direction of U.S. District Court Judge Virginia Kendall before he was sentenced for the crimes for which he was convicted. 200 plus letters came in last June from his wife and former Chief Justice of the State Supreme Court, Ann Burke, from former U.S. Attorney Dan Webb, from Paul Vallis, from former Chicago Police Chief Gary McCarthy.
Yeah, remember that.
Of course, from Father Flager. When I had problems, I would go to Ed, and he really helped me get it done, McCarthy said. As I said, been nothing but a friend to me. And you know what he asked me in return for? Nothing, not a thing. No, I mean, you don't need anything from Gary McCarthy when you can shake down so many others, I suppose. So that was last June. This June...
Oh, yeah, we have new blood.
It's Mike Madigan's turn to get sentenced, and...
He gets sentenced next week.
The Combine's turn to send in all their cards and letters on behalf of Mike Madigan. More than 250 have been sent to the judge that will mete out Madigan's sentence. His daughter, little Lisa Madigan.
Where is she now?
Where is she now? Kirkland and Ellis.
Kirkland and Ellis, yes.
In a city where people used to talk about having parking tickets fixed, I learned from Mike that I was expected to follow the law. Either feed the parking meter or pay the parking tickets.
Wow, riveted. That's what your dad taught you? Okay.
She instilled in his children the same life lessons he lived under himself. Get as much education as possible, work hard, help others, and be honest and scrupulously ethical. I know Mike Madigan would never intentionally commit a crime. He is the consummate rule follower. Punishing him for trying to help people, something we are all taught to do, is the true injustice. Mike Madigan is a victim in this story. He is the victim of a great injustice that's been done, to him for simply spending the last 50 years, including amidst the whole ComEd imbroglio that brought him into federal court, trying to help people. That's the story. Are you buying it?
At 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. You can also text us on that line. Let's see if the lines are working, which I think they are. But that is coming from the former Attorney General of Illinois, the top attorney in our entire state.
Well, that's why she never moved to prosecute him, because
Pops. Well, make it Thanksgiving uncomfortable and other holidays.
He was the consummate rule follower. He was always just trying to help people. And why should someone be punished for that? He taught me to pay my own parking tickets. That man could never run afoul of the law. That's just prima facie evidence. What a banner day this is for the Illinois electorate, particularly on the southwest side. That's sent Madigan back every 2 years for 50 of them. Jim Edgar. He was allegedly a Republican governor of Illinois, you may remember. Mike made mistakes, as we all did in our professional careers, but he did far more good in making the state a better place to live. Is that what he did? I mean, I'm just sort of through the looking glass on this, reading the excerpts from these letters that were sent to the judge on behalf of Mike Madigan. Now, to be fair to Jim Edgar, there's a 2000 piece of the Chicago Tribune I dug up. Jim Edgar talking about George Ryan amidst the license for bribes scandal that was unfolding. By the way, there were licenses for bribes when Jim Edgar was Secretary of State, too. Jim Edgar had his own corruption problems that he dodged. And so probably this letter is there, but for the grace of God go I. MSI, Robert Hickman, his top fundraiser, and then his tollway chief who goes to prison on an illicit land deal. But I digress. Because, in the eyes of so many Vichy Republicans in this state, and of course the Chicago and Springfield press corps, because Jim Edgar was their kind of Republican, a big government compliant Republican that would happily serve as the junior partner to the Chicago Democrats. So is George Ryan. Jim Edgar in that 2000 piece. Amid the unfolding license for bribe scandal before George Ryan had been formally implicated. I can't imagine George Ryan would be involved in anything like that. No, of course not. They're all babes in the woods. That's it's the same thing you're hearing, by the way, from the D.C. press corps and from the new Marxist Party in D.C. in defense of Joe Biden. That's not the Joe Biden I know. That was not my experience with Joe Biden. This isn't the Mike Madigan I know. That was not my experience with Mike Madigan. That's not the Ed Burke I interacted with. That was not my experience with Ed Burke. And so you just ignore everything that is in the public domain, everything that that's in the private domain, whispered in the halls of power around the state that is going on because it wasn't your direct personal experience. In my interactions, the President Biden was very lucid. In my interactions, Mike Madigan, Ed Burke never asked me for anything. They're consummate gentlemen, highest ethical standards. These were not quid pro quo politicians. They were not leveraging their political offices and power for personal gain. I don't know anything about that. Except everything new. Everybody knew everything about that. Bill Lipinski. Again, congratulations, Southwest Side. Send him back 11 times. Mr. Integrity. That's Mike Madigan. Mr. Integrity. I know him firsthand to be an outstanding husband and father, and believe me, that can't be said about too many men in public life. That may well be true, and it's completely irrelevant. This is about what he did in his professional and public capacity, isn't it? Jerry Reinsdorf.
Jerry?
Vouched for Madigan's, quote, character and his lifetime commitment to improving the lives of all Illinois. Yeah, he made a lifetime commitment to that. What was the end result? Does anybody know what the 50 years begot? The 50 years from Burke and Madigan actually produced? Is Illinois...
Well, they line their own pockets.
The land of milk and honey or something? Have I missed it? I mean, please, I'm happy to...
Were you knocked out for a while and came back?
Happy to be set straight.
Well, the feds are asking for 12 and a half years in prison, so maybe that's why these letters reek of desperation.
They don't reek of desperation.
Well,
What is desperate about this?
Well, it's pathetic, these people. How could they write that? They know it's a lie.
Oh, my goodness. All these people will do their dutiful lying. Mm-hmm. They'll tell the beautiful lies about Mike Madigan that they and Mike Madigan told all of you for so many years. Why stop now? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Ron, Southside.
Hey, good morning, Dan and Amy. When I it was so unfortunate I couldn't get to you all yesterday. First of all, when you mentioned that phony Mike Flair, when he sent that letter for Ian Burke. But let's get to it. And Amy, you just mentioned that was some of the most disgusting, garbage, despicable comments I have ever read. And Lipinski, you right there. I don't care about him. He's supposed to be a good father and a good husband. Okay, that means nothing.
That's not a get out of jail free card? Oh, geez.
He taught you how to pay parking tickets, so he should be freed of his sins?
Yeah. Yeah, and then, but Mr. Squeaky Clean, Jim Edgar said, he always kept his word. Right. That's why he's going to prison. Okay, quid pro quo. Okay, ComEd, you do this or other companies he was shaking down.
Yeah.
You do this.
You do this for me. Yeah, you do this for me, or.
And I fix the legislation.
No. This is how the conversations go. Because I've seen them or been in them. You do this for me, or I do this to you. That's how it goes.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're right, Jim Mack. Yeah, he always kept his word, and hopefully he will be going to prison. You all have a great day.
Thanks for the call.
Somebody texted in, Dan and Amy, that's not been my experience with John Wayne Gacy.
Yeah, exactly. That's not the John Wayne Gacy I know. I mean, I'm not comparing the crimes of Mike Madigan to the crimes of John Wayne Gacy. It's just the stupidity and the pathetic cover that is that line of argumentation, and yet they get away with it. All I can tell you is my experience. Yeah. Okay. North Side.
Yeah, Dan, you summed it all up with one word. All these people that are singing praises to Mike Madigan, it's all irrelevant. It has nothing to do with the crimes he committed. And I just hope one thing, that he doesn't get off with 2 years like Eddie Burke, because I believe Eddie Burke bribed that judge, Virginia Kendall.
Well, I don't know anything. I don't think that's true. I mean, I'm not going to accuse Judge Kendall of taking bribes without evidence, but he probably gets a couple years. They want, as Amy said, they want 12, and he wants, of course, no jail time, probation,
home confinement, or whatever. Electronic monitoring.
$1.5 million fine too. The feds are seeking. I mean, that's pennies on the dollars that he grifted and grafted out of the state.
It's interest money for him.
Greg, Rogers Park.
Hi, good morning. First of all, my experience with Mike Madigan is a bankrupt state, crime-ridden state, a total lack of trust in government officials. And then the other thing is Jerry Reinsdorf, as you mentioned, but he also tries to give Mike Madigan credit for the White Sox winning a World Series for the city of Chicago because he helped keep the state in the new White Sox park built. But my experience with Mike Madigan is nothing but a living hell.
Thanks for the call, Greg. Yeah, right. He gets credit for the 2005 championship because he used our money to underwrite a sweetheart deal for Jerry Reinsdorf, who, is just frankly another combine figure.
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
I'll take more of your calls on this and then turn our attention to other matters, the big, beautiful bill and its prospects for passage, which we'll also talk to Steve Moore a bit about later in the show, 5:38.
But now let's head into the newsroom, and here is Nikki Whaley.
Good morning. It's 67 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Senator John Fetterman says the Democrats' handling of the border was a mistake. Mark Mayfield has the story.
Fetterman noted his support of the roughly $150 billion in President Trump's so-called Big Beautiful Bill that would go towards securing the U.S.-Mexico border and ramping up immigration enforcement within the nation. Fetterman said, "I thought the border was really important, and our party did not handle the border appropriately." The Congressional Budget Office reported last year that the annual net migration under former President Biden averaged 2.4 million people from 2021 to 2023.
Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell says it's vital the central bank understands the financial practices of other nations. While speaking at the International Finance Division's 75th anniversary conference, Powell said seeing data from around the world helps the Fed navigate inflation and employment.
In my time at the Fed, the IF division has provided invaluable insight into global economic activity, international trade and capital flows, and developments in foreign financial markets.
Likewise, Powell says the world looks to the Federal Reserve when there's a crisis to see how it responds. It comes as the Fed has held the interest rates steady despite calls from the president to lower them. This report is sponsored by Allstate. Some people just know you could save money on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Those people are probably saving a carload of cash right now. So what are you waiting for? Check Allstate first for a quote today. You're in good hands with Allstate. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
It's almost time for AM 560's annual golf outing, presented by Signature Bank. And once again, AM 560 is proud to partner with the Tunnel to Towers Foundation as they support America's first responder and military heroes, including homeless veterans, and to help America never forget 9/11. It's all happening on Wednesday, June 18th at McRae Memorial Golf Club in Barrington. Enjoy a full day of golf, meals, an awards reception, and a silent auction. Reserve your foursome today at 560theanswer.com/golf.
As you know, our friend Mike Lindell has a passion to help everyone get the best sleep of your life. He didn't stop by simply creating the best pillow. Mike created the best bed sheets ever. They look and feel great, which means an even better night's sleep for me, which is crucial for my busy schedule. Mike is offering the best deal on his Giza Dreams bed sheets. Any size and any color, just $49.98. That's right, you can even get queens, kings, split kings, and cow kings. Any size and any color, just $49.98. Order now because when they're gone, they're gone. Also, for a limited time, when your order is over $100, you'll receive $100 in free digital gifts. Call 800-489-0201. Use promo code LIBERTY or go to mypillow.com. Make sure you use the promo code LIBERTY for the amazing offer of $49.98 on the Giza Dreams sheets, any size and any color. That number again is 800-489-0201. Promo code LIBERTY.
Where's America 60 years after the Civil Rights Act? Has equality of opportunity become a race hustle instead? As the culture wars play out in our schools, has the civil rights battleground shifted? In Illinois, inherently racist programs, scholarships, and comments are being challenged for violating the Civil Rights Act. How do we get to a post-racial America? Breakthrough Ideas is bringing great Americans together to help answer those questions. Join C.L. Bryant, award-winning filmmaker of Runaway Slave and Trump Advisory Board member, Black and White radio host John Anthony, and rooftop pastor Corey Brooks, founder of Project Hood, on Thursday, June 26th for the Breakthrough Ideas annual dinner. Join the conversation and buy a ticket to our annual dinner to support our work. At Breakthrough Ideas, we're unafraid to expose the lies and corruption of the ruling class in Illinois. We're here to inform voters and protect liberty. Visit breakthrough-ideas.com. Click on the events page to buy a ticket today. That's breakthrough-ideas.com.
This is Seth Leapson for townhall.com. The firebombing of Jews in Colorado comes in the wake of the arrest of an Islamist plotting to kill Jewish preschoolers in Michigan, which comes in the wake of 2 employees of the Israeli embassy being gunned down in our nation's capital, which comes in the wake of the firebombing of Governor Josh Shapiro's residence when he and his family were there. This is all the actuation of the chanting from left-wing mobs to globalize the Intifada and similar terrorist incantations. Where is the Democratic Party standing in unison against this? That party could not pass a bill denouncing anti-Semitism last year, and a few years before that could not denounce anti-Semitism without adding multiple other groups. The leadership of the Democratic Party has given too much safe space for Jew hatred with its silence. When it's BLM and illegal immigrants, they sure know how to make their voices heard. Their time to speak on Jew hatred in America loudly, clearly, and with any manner of conviction is long past due. I'm Seth Leapson.
Stop feeling embarrassed about thinning hair and start looking and feeling your best with Hair Grow by New Nordic. Available online at Amazon, Walmart.com, and NewNordicUSA.com, or at your local CVS.
Now, your official weather forecast.
A blend of sun and clouds, windy and warm. A high today 87. Periods of rain, thunderstorm this evening. Could be some ponding on the roads, low 58. Periods of rain, thunderstorm for tomorrow. Leftover shower in the afternoon. The high tomorrow, 66. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Boy, those character letters from Mike Madigan are really something to read. We'll talk about it more with Ted Dabrowski at the bottom of the 7 o'clock hour.
Like love letters. Dear Abby.
Talking about border security and ongoing ICE operations since that terrorist attack in Boulder, Colorado, also became an issue of border security and ICE deportation initiatives. The Egyptian national in the country illegally.
Charged with federal hate crime on top of 16 counts of attempted murder. Now the injured went from 8 to 12. There are some other kids that were in the area that were injured as well.
Todd Lyons, the acting ICE director, reported on ICE's most expansive operation to date. Remember, they were running at about 1,600 arrests a day, and President Trump wants to see that up to more like 3,000 a day, pick up the pace.
Good.
Operation Patriot resulted in ICE and federal partners. You know, there are some local law enforcement agencies, not here, not in Illinois. But there are some local law enforcement agencies around the country that do work with ICE because they're interested in maximizing their resources and working with their federal colleagues to improve public safety in the communities they serve. And it's a crazy concept, but it does happen in places not named Chicago and Illinois. 1,461 illegals arrested in Massachusetts and the greater Boston area. Now, of course, Massachusetts and Boston are also sanctuary jurisdictions, thanks in part to Barrington export Michelle Wu, the mayor of Boston. 750 of the 1,461 had criminal convictions or charges. 790. 790 out of the 1,461. Here was Todd Lyons giving some of the highlights of the lowlifes they arrested and are in the process of removing from this country.
The brave men and women of ICE, CBP, ATF, DEA, Diplomatic Security Service, and the U.S. Marshals have to go out and pick up some of the most horrible criminals that are roaming free in Massachusetts. These are just some of them. A child sex offender that was previously deported that was released by a local agency but was back living across the street from a playground. A sex trafficker that was arrested for raping a child that was re-released back into the community. A habitual drunk driver who, in the midst of his drunk driving, kidnapped a child. Theft from, we had one person that was previously deported that was stealing from disabled senior citizens. Not only that, but they got several convicted murderers, rapists, spouse abusers, child abusers, and drug traffickers. You can see their mugshots, which are all up here on the photo, and I really want everyone to see that. Because not only did they enter our country illegally, but they were released back into our community by elected officials and sanctuary jurisdictions that did not want to turn these individuals over to ICE. I really want everyone to see their faces and know what's going on.
Yeah. First thing, why aren't they behind bars? Oh, because they had the same policies that we have here. They, Safety Act. Their version of it.
Well, and attach the politicians' names to those arrests and those people that were roaming the streets, violent criminals, child sex predators.
Yeah.
You just cannot tell these stories enough. So every day that ICE is making progress should be marked and discussed and the information distributed. And the response to these sorts of operations?
Well, in Boston, remember I told you that child rapist that Lyons is talking about? When they tried to arrest him, people in the neighborhood were following ICE officers in their own personal vehicles and tried to physically grab him, the rapist, before ICE did. And that's the clown world we're living in.
Well, the contrast between the two parties on this couldn't be more stark, and that also needs to be underscored. You have them, from judges to ordinary Bostonians, trying to aid and abet the escape of a fugitive. In San Diego, with the ICE operation at that upscale Italian restaurant, the people that came out to protest ICE, to yell profane words at them, to throw garbage at them, and then actually more video came out of these ghastly Chardonnay Antifa suburban honky chick types, the Roffles, actually standing in front of ICE vehicles trying to prevent them from leaving. I mean, the hysterics and the shrillness and the hostility. It's something. Just try to imagine. It would be like if the sprinkles in Oak Park ran out of cupcakes. That's sort of what the scene was like in San Diego.
And we'll tweet it out. You're right. These are Roffles. These are horrible white liberal women screaming at fellow Americans who are just doing their job to try to make the streets safer for them, for their kids. No idiots, wake up.
No child, as the left always says, no child sex predator is illegal. No rapist is illegal. No habitual drunk driver who kidnaps a child is illegal. Put the signs in your yards, folks.
And San Diego, also a sanctuary city, obviously, with a sanctuary state, just like Boulder, Colorado. I mean, that monster who lit people on fire, literally that burning guys, those are the flesh of their bodies. He tried to buy a gun and he couldn't get a gun because he was here illegally. Why didn't they grab him there? There's so many chances that they could have arrested this man and they didn't do it.
The basis of all this too, this is something that Tom Homan has stated previously, but it needs to be refreshed every now and again so you understand how this came to be and what the motive of the Biden administration was. The Biden administration and all of their allies up and down the food chain, from the federal to the state and local, all of their allies in Illinois, J.B. Pritzker and Tony Preckwinkle and Don Harmon and Chris Welch and Brandon Johnson, the entire power structure, Kim Fox, everybody in public office, all the constitutional officers, everybody who is in a leadership position in public office. What was the motive? Why does ICE have to do it this way? Tom Homan explained. Again.
And as far as releasing so many people, you know why the Biden administration released millions of people in the United States? No one ever talks about it. I'll talk about it. Why did they release people into the interior of the United States and put them, rather than put them into an ice bed? Why not put them in an empty ice bed at $127 a night rather than in a hotel room at $500 a night? They did it on purpose. Because when you put them in an ice detention bed, they get a hearing in 35 days. Court records show 9 out of 10 people claim asylum, get order removal, they're gone. But if you release them and put them in a hotel room at $500 a night, their hearings can be 5, 7, 9 years if you pull out all appeals. And what are they hoping for then? That another Democrat administration's in power. They can award an amnesty to millions. This is about selling this country off for future political power. That's what it was. The law clearly says if you arrive at our border without proper documentation, you shall be detained. Not maybe, not think about it, shall. And that's what President Trump's doing. Catch and release is over. That's what the law says, and that's what we've done.
But Mr. Holman, no domestic terrorist who wants to light Jewish people on fire can be illegal. I saw a sign in somebody's yard in Naperville. I'll tell you what, the good news on this is not only what ICE is doing on a daily basis, but also how people are receiving what's being done in spite of, and probably in part because of the response you're seeing on the ground from the new Marxists. This is Dave Shalane, who is I guess some sort of, he was a political editor. Now he's got some other title at CNN. But going over polling, CNN's polling on the Democrat brand right now. Now, Republicans have their issues. This is not spiking the football, but it is telling you as long as they keep doubling and tripling down and Republicans and the Trump administration continues doing what it's doing, generally speaking, on these core quality of life issues, there's no reason we have to concede the midterm elections. In fact, there may be every opportunity to build on these rather slim majorities and populate more state houses and governor's mansions with conservative reformers, too, people that actually want to participate in the common sense counter-revolution. Listen to these numbers. Again, CNN's polling and CNN's leftist SVP, or whatever his title is now, Dave Shalane. You recognize him if you've seen him and if you've ever watched CNN.
How Americans sort of see the parties. Which party is better described as the party with strong leaders? Look at this. Wow. 16% of Americans say Democrats, 40% say that of the Republican Party. Now, overall, no party's doing great. Lots of Americans say neither of these qualities apply to either party. But look at how much worse off the Democrats are. A party that gets things done. Only 19% of Americans say that about the Democrats. 36% say it about the Republicans. In fact, the only place that the Democrats are numerically ahead, party of the middle class, this is basically a tie, though. Yeah. 34% say that of Democrats, 32% say that of Republicans. But this, I think, is the most fascinating. How do partisans talk about their own party? Right? So among Democrats and Democratic leaners, 32% say Democrats are the party with strong leaders. I mean, of their own kind, right? 82% of Republican leaders say that about the GOP. Only 41% of Democrats say they're the party that gets things done of their own kind. And I will just say, 51%, Manu, a majority of Democratic and Democratic leaners say neither party gets the party that gets things done attribute. Imagine that's the project that Democrats are working on.
Yeah, well, what you have there, at least those numbers, snapshot in time, could change, is a party that is going to lead with Jasmine Crockett and Comrade Bernie and AOC and their Stop Oligarchy tour and the hysterics you see on the streets of places like San Diego and the illegal obstruction of federal law enforcement that you see from everyday Bostonians to Wisconsin state district court judges. It's not playing well writ large, and frankly, it's even demoralizing self-identified Democrats.
Democrats are short on strong leaders. Even Henry Eaton from CNN, he could not believe it.
You expect that Democrats would have this massive lead on the economy. It ain't so. It ain't so. Plus 8-point advantage for the Republican Party. How is that possible, Democrats? How is that possible after all the recession fears, after the stock market's been doing all of this, after all the tariffs that Americans are against, and Republicans still hold an 8-point lead on the economy? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, because, it's not that difficult to explain. It's because there was the Chicken Little routine, the temper tantrums that are attendant to every issue tackled by the left. They have no interest in making an argument, and certainly not making one at room temperature that has any basis in logic or evidence. So you do your Chicken Little routine, you tell me the sky is falling, and there's this period of manufactured hysteria, and then a week later and a month later and 2 months later, the sky didn't fall.
No.
So that therein lies the problem. And now we have, as we mentioned yesterday, projections from the Fed of anywhere between, I've seen anywhere between like 3.5% to 4.5% GDP growth in Q2 of this year. And we saw, and Rick Santelli went over it on Friday, the month-over-month numbers. I think I said quarterly number yesterday. I misspoke. It was the month-over-month numbers of income growth, expected to be 0.3 of a percentage point increase. It was 0.8%. Good income numbers. Inflation is down. You have a trade deficit that was halved in April, May, as opposed to February, March. So, yeah, it's what Democrats are telling you is happening or going to happen, and then it's what you actually experience and see with your own eyes. And that disconnect, it does a real disservice to the new Marxist Party, to the benefit of Republicans. And that's what's happening.
Yeah, and strong leadership, they have none. I find them repulsive. Governor Tim Walz, Cory Booker out campaigning in California and then in South Carolina.
Yeah, well, the point is that their own party finds them
repulsive,
lacking.
Yeah, well, not repulsive.
At least lacking. Yeah.
And Tim Walz is out there telling Democrats to be a little meaner. Like what? Here he is.
I'm getting called out on this because I called Donald Trump a wannabe dictator. It's because he is. It's because he is. Oh. The governor's being mean, and the governor's speaking out on that. Well, maybe it's time for us to be a little meaner. The thing that bothers a teacher more than anything is to watch a bully, to watch this bully, and to stop it. And when it's a child, you talk to them, and you tell them why bullying's wrong. But when it's adult like Donald Trump, you bully the out of him back. You push back.
Yeah, I mean, that's just, again, you're trying to appeal to the base that animates the party right now, and whoever, as I've said before, is the most over-the-top, reckless in their anti-Trump rhetoric wins. That's the same thing Jelly Belly is doing.
Yeah, this week it just happens to be Governor Walz instead of Governor.
Well, it's competition for the same market position, for the same sliver of that electorate with an eye towards 2028. But I mean, okay. Go ahead, go to it. The response to that approach, which is the approach that that party has taken, generally speaking, the first half of this year, is those numbers that you heard CNN go over.
Connect with Dan and Amy using the AM560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
At AlmostFreeTeeth.com, they're dedicated to making smiles great again. If you have medical PPO insurance, find out how you could save 90% off on average to get a beautiful dental implant-supported smile. Check if you qualify right now at AlmostFreeTeeth.com.
Maha starts with Virago, making America healthy again. With the worst flu season in years, you need an immune system boost. The stronger your immune system, the stronger your body fights and defends against so get Virago. Virago Immune Enhancement Support is a unique blend of 23 nutraceuticals, ingredients that have been available as individual nutraceuticals, but now working in synergy to maximize their effects. Recommended by medical physicians, dentists, and other healthcare professionals, Virago is the nutraceutical cocktail for immune support. Developed to strengthen your immune system for quick response to immune challenges, for short and long-term immunity, antiviral, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant. It even protects your heart, kidneys, liver, all in a unique liquid supplement for better absorption. Order online at myvirago.com. That's myvirago.com. myvirago.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. Quality ingredients for optimum health. Maha. Making America healthy again starts with Virago.
Are you living with dry AMD? If so, you could be on the road to geographic atrophy, or GA, a condition that leads to retinal cell death and permanent vision loss. But with Izervay, you can
slow it down and give
get it going slower.
Izervay slows GA progression by targeting a key source of retinal cell death, which may help preserve your vision longer. Izervay, or Avastin Captid Pagel, is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com. Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
At Catholic Cemeteries of Chicago, we honor tradition, celebrate faith, and cherish memories. Take an active role in establishing your legacy for future generations by pre-planning your final arrangements today. Alleviate your loved ones of future financial burden. Lock in today's prices and take advantage of interest-free financing and no hidden fees. Visit CatholicCemeteriesChicago.org or call 708-236-5490 to schedule a free consultation today.
Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage. AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Rod Dreher has a really interesting piece in the Free Press about the woke right. Yes, you heard me correctly. What? The woke right. The woke right is coming for your sons. 6:06.
Today we're going to have windy and very warm conditions with a blend of sun and clouds, a high again of 88 degrees. Then tomorrow, a lot cooler, shower and thunderstorm, highs only in the upper 60s. It is now 6 a.m. WIND Chicago.
He says he'd do it again. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. The man accused in Sunday's Boulder, Colorado attack. Here's Acting U.S. Attorney Bishop Gruhl.
Mr. Solomon stated that he had been planning this attack for a year. And he acted because he hated what he called the Zionist group.
Accused of using a flamethrower and Molotov cocktails on a peaceful demonstration calling for Hamas to release more hostages in Gaza.
45-year-old Mohammed Sabri Solomon is charged with a federal hate crime and multiple state charges, including 16 counts of attempted first-degree murder. Investigators say they found 4 more victims, bringing the total number of people hurt to 12. They say Solomon had more than a dozen unused Molotov cocktails. DHS say Solomon, an Egyptian national, was in the country illegally.
Fox's Madeline Rivera. 2 of the 12 injured remain hospitalized as the Trump administration cracks down on pro-Palestinian protests leading to anti-Semitism on college campuses from Columbia to Harvard. Texas's Republican legislature has approved a bill letting the state have more control over university curriculum,
which they feel has been promoting liberal ideology. The Texas law patterned after those previously passed in Florida and Ohio. Some academics are pushing back, arguing the new laws impinge on academic freedom.
Fox's Gary Baumgarten. 3 Israeli soldiers are dead battling Hamas in Gaza, where there was another attack near a food distribution site for a 3rd day in a row. This one left at least 27 people dead. Palestinian officials again blame Israeli forces. Israel counters its military fired near a few suspects who left the designated route, approached soldiers and ignored warning shots. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will finally be questioned by prosecutors at his trial.
The allegations include doing favors for a media mogul in exchange for positive coverage. Prosecutors say they'll need at least 100 sessions with the Prime Minister to complete their cross-examination. It means this drawn-out trial is likely to go on for another year or more.
Jonathan Savage, America's listening to Fox.
Good morning. It's 67 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer Newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. A woman's hospitalized in critical condition after she was struck by a vehicle on the Eisenhower Expressway on the west side. The incident happened late Sunday night in the outbound lanes of 290 near Independence Boulevard. The driver of the vehicle stopped at the scene and cooperated with authorities. CTA, Metra, and PACE officials, along with union leaders, are warning that they are on the path to job and service cuts. Perry Williams reports.
The statement was made after the Illinois legislature gave the green light to a budget that does not address a $770 million deficit for the RTA. Governor J.B. Pritzker says he's seeking statewide transit reform.
We need to make sure we're addressing the needs of commuters, and not just in the city of Chicago or in Cook County or in the collar counties, but all across the state.
Legislators could head back to Springfield this summer for a special session to address the issue.
United Airlines is getting more gates at O'Hare Airport. The Chicago Department of Aviation is allowing 5 additional gates as part of the city's 2025 date reallocation process. The airport's gates are reallocated based upon how many flights each carrier flew in the previous year. Under the new plan, United will have a total of 95 gates, while American Airlines will have 59 gates. Last month, American filed a lawsuit to prevent the city from giving United additional gates. News is a service of almostfreeteeth.com. What if you could save on average 90% off for dental implants and get 100% of your smile back? With a Blue Cross Blue Shield PPO or FEP, it's possible. Check if you qualify at almostfreeteeth.com. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
It's almost time for AM 560's annual golf outing, presented by Signature Bank. And once again, AM 560 is proud to partner with the Tunnel to Towers Foundation as they support America's first responder and military heroes, including homeless veterans, and to help America never forget 9/11. It's all happening on Wednesday, June 18th at McRae Memorial Golf Club in Barrington. Enjoy a full day of golf, meals, an awards reception, and a silent auction. Reserve your foursome today at 560theanswer.com/golf.
Hey, it's Mike Rowe, and if you want to do business with a company that actually stands for something, switch to Pure Talk. I did. Sure, I appreciate being on America's most dependable 5G network with unlimited talk and text for just $20 a month, but what I really appreciate is Pure Talk's commitment to our military and to our skilled workforce. That matters to me. Save 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say keyword Mike Rowe. Pure Talk, a wireless company that actually stands for something.
Surprise! Your expenses this month were way higher than you expected. Also, you forgot to renew your website domain, and now you're in a bidding war.
You should see the look on your face. At Progressive, we know small business owners don't usually like surprises because they cost you money. But a good surprise that could save you money? Getting a commercial auto quote from Progressive.
Plus, the fridge died in the break room, and now everything smells weird. All right.
Surprise yourself. See if you can save in as little as 7 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Big news! Newsmax just went public on the New York Stock Exchange, and millions like you are joining our news revolution. Newsmax is now the 4th highest-rated news channel, just behind CNN. Reuters says we're one of the top news brands in America. 40 million Americans go to Newsmax for shows with Rob Schmidt, Greta Van Susteren, Rob Finnerty, and more. So download our free Newsmax app on your smartphone or TV and start watching. President Trump says Newsmax is truly terrific. Get the free Newsmax app and check out Newsmax shares on the stock exchange. Go to newsmaxinvest.com. That's newsmaxinvest.com. This is not an offer to buy or sell securities, nor shall there be any sale of securities in any jurisdiction in which such an offer would be unlawful.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 14 minutes. Outbound, about 13 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Byrne Interchange, 8 minutes. Outbound, about 12 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 13 minutes. Outbound, about 13 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 16 minutes. Outbound is about 15 minutes. And then the Dan Ryan inbound from 95th to the Byrne Interchange, 12 minutes, 10 minutes outbound. Traffic is a service of almostfreeteeth.com. What if you could save on average 90% for dental implants and get 100% of your smile back? With a Blue Cross Blue Shield PPO or FEP, it's possible. Check if you qualify at almostfreeteeth.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
A blend of sun and clouds, windy and warm. A high today 87. Periods of rain, thunderstorm this evening. Could be some ponding on the roads, low 58. Periods of rain, thunderstorm for tomorrow. Leftover shower in the afternoon. The high tomorrow 66. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. You know, one of the reasons that the Republican Party can lose its way and lose its relevance, as it has in Illinois, is when the party fails to police itself, to hold itself to standards. That can happen nationally, too. It's a problem of the human condition. It's not a problem of any particular iteration of the party. Rod Dreher, I'm sure a lot of you know of his work. Orthodox Christian, Live Not by Lies, the Benedict Option. Piece in the Free Press on expressing some concern about the quote-unquote woke right and its appeal to young men. The same young men that have provided a boost to Trump in November of 2024, and that have provided a boost to the Republican Party by moving away from the left. We've talked about the numbers, the significant divide between Gen Z men and Gen Z women in terms of political disposition. But Dreher worries that there is a sort of totalitarianism that is taking some hold on the so-called right, totalitarianism in thinking, and most specifically against the backdrop of the latest anti-Semitic inspired attacks on Jewish individuals in this country. First, the 2 embassy workers that were murdered, and then it's up to a dozen people now that were injured in that Boulder, Colorado attack.
And don't forget the liberal who's crazy who set Governor Shapiro's house on fire, threw in a Molotov cocktail right after a Seder dinner.
It starts Dreher's piece by asking a question, reiterating a question that was put to him at a talk in Nashville that we've addressed a number of times and will continue to. The question was, do you think wokeness is over now that President Trump is in power? And Dreher then takes the rest of the piece to sort of dissect this question from both the left and the right. He writes about his book, Live Not by Lies. Live Not by Lies helped people make sense of what they were experiencing. I told them they were not crazy, that something wicked was passing through our society, masquerading as morality and justice. And it gave them advice via the stories told by men and women who had lived through the hard totalitarianism of Soviet rule for how to resist. By the spring of 2025, much has changed, not least the man in the White House. What inspired the questioner in Nashville was the sense that wokeness may have peaked. Indeed, it was in retreat thanks to certain welcome measures taken by the Trump administration. They wanted me, I think, the audience wanted me to tell the woman who asked the question that everything was going to be fine now. And as Dreher says in his essay, this essay is about why I couldn't. I knew that the left had succumbed to the soft totalitarianism of wokeness. It was part of the reason I moved to the former Eastern Bloc country of Hungary, not to escape wokeness so much as the fact that through the research for my book, I became fascinated how these post-totalitarian countries are rebuilding. Again, Dreher, his conservative bona fides are pretty ironclad. So if you think this is some sort of squishy neocon or globalist, then you're wrong. Then you don't know who Rod Dreher is. And, by the way, he talking about his sojourn in Hungary, he has rallied to the defense of Viktor Orban on matters like his approach to immigration in Hungary. So just to set the record straight before we want to skip over addressing the argument and attack the author. Back to Dreher. Now I'm witnessing the deep inroads in such a short period that right-wing totalitarianism, expressed most often as anti-Semitism, has made, especially among a growing segment of right-wing males. And unlike so many who point this out, this community is not exotic or foreign to me. This is my world. I don't want to live in a right-wing totalitarian world any more than I want to live in a left-wing one. Even as wokeness declines, the indicators of a society ripe for totalitarianism are still very much with us, and so I feel the need to raise the alarm. And he goes through a few anecdotes to illustrate what he is seeing and what concerns him. Hard to quantify, but you're seeing expressions of it. And see if these perhaps ring true to you. Give you one of the anecdotes. A white New York executive in her late 20s is trying to de-radicalize her younger brother. She explained it to me like this. On a walk downtown the day after a free press screening of the documentary about his book, Live Not by Lies. So many men like him, white, heterosexual, and Christian, have grown up in a culture that has told them they are the source of most of the world's evils, simply by virtue of their unchosen identity. Right-wing radicalism, including anti-Semitism, because some of their perceived persecutors are Jewish intellectual and cultural figures, speaks to their anger and trauma and validates their rage. Plus, she added, they find a transgressive thrill in scandalizing both the liberal cultural authorities who exhorted them to hate themselves and the conservative ones who preferred to stay silent as their sons, brothers, and friends were demonized. Or even worse, I would add, even worse than demonized in the height of the cancel culture. He goes on, it's like this, she told me. If nearly everything in your culture tells you that you are a piece of blank, not because of anything you believe or have done, but because of who you are, then it's easy to understand why you'll start listening and trusting those who denounce this lie as a lie. But, and this is the key, in a culture that valorizes identity, emotions, and transgression, it is also easy to be seduced by bad actors who weaponize your legitimate sense of rage. It is virtually impossible to guard against this without fail, and I know this from my own experience. And then Dreher tells a story about a headmaster at a Christian school in Louisiana that his kids attended, who ultimately was outed as writing under an alias on X some very problematic things about race, about Jews. Yeah. He goes on. Some on the right insist this kind of thing is unfortunate, but it's not a big deal. These anecdotes are nitpicking and not all emblematic of what's going on the right. They say there are always bad actors within any movement. They say old normies like me don't understand that shite posters saying things anonymously online that they don't really mean, that it's all joking and irony in the service of having fun, freaking out the libs. They say that conservatives like me are too quick to take up the left's habit of seeing fascists everywhere, that our side should have no enemies to the right because that only helps the left. Sometimes they say it's really just an online phenomenon and not worth taking seriously. Butler adds, try standing in front of families who've lost a son or brother to disembodied strangers, giving the troubled kid a scapegoat or several for understanding his anxieties and telling them not to worry, that it's just a phase. Kids will be kids will be kids. Had you said that to the mother and father of a teenager entrapped by online trans ideologies in 2014, you would have been a fool offering false hope. He goes on to make reference back to his book. Live Not by Lies is about soft totalitarianism coming from the left, because for over a decade now that has been its source. But totalitarian thinking is bad, whatever its ideological basis. Even if the left-wing version has lost some of its steam in the post-Biden era, the conditions that brought about wokeness still remain, and right-wing people, especially the young, are just as susceptible to the siren song of ideological certainty and to the temptation of crushing all who stand in their way. And he references the great Polish dissident Czesław Miłosz, his book, The Captive Mind, in which he argued that Westerners who think Eastern Europeans submitted to communism solely out of coercion are mistaken. There were softer reasons, too. This is important. Actually, it has application to Illinois generally, not necessarily specifically to this, but just generally. Understanding mankind. Miwash, there's an internal longing for harmony and happiness that lies deeper than ordinary fear or the desire to escape misery or physical destruction. An internal longing for harmony and happiness. That's a poetic way of saying, there's an internal impetus to go along to get along. And Dreer writes, think what it must be like to be a white boy growing up in a culture that tells you you are what's wrong with the world. You're not only demonized by cultural elites and institutions, not because of anything you believe or have done, but because of who you are. Not only that, but you will be denied opportunities for educational and professional advancement. And those power holders who treat you that way will consider themselves virtuous for having done so. And you see women and non-whites openly embracing their identity groups while you're told this is off limits to you. Can you see why such young men might think they can find, quote, harmony and happiness through solidarity with others who endure the same injustice? This is always why identity politics was dangerous. Not simply because it told minorities that the most important thing about them is their identity, but because at the same time it told white men that their whiteness was the most important thing about them, too. And this is how totalitarian movements catch fire. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. How resistant do you think such a culture will be in the face of totalitarian temptations from the left or right? How dangerous is this period? The Great Awakening revealed to us how insane the political left was willing to make itself and to attempt to coerce the rest of us to be for the sake of upholding its ideological verities. Respect the female penis, bigot, and so forth. It spread with pandemic speed through the left because liberals who knew better were afraid to speak out. With limited exception, they were silent. The right is not immune to this. Right now, too many of us are on the right decline to stand up to anti-Semitism on our own side for the pleasure of seeing those who have unjustly excluded others get a taste of their own bitter medicine. And he mentions Candace Owens as an example. Some of the guests that have appeared on Rogan and Tucker that argue that Winston Churchill was the real villain of World War II, for example. Kanye West, his new single, Heil Hitler. He writes, when you call out otherwise decent people for platforming vile opinions, they often respond with a jibe slamming cancel culture. Right, I get it. But opposing cancel culture, the reflexive stifling of any speech or expression that violates a taboo, doesn't oblige us to give a pass to everything evil that can be said simply to prove our free speech bona fides. And it's forbidden to forbid is the posture of a nihilist. And, that nihilism has an audience. He goes on to write, 4 years ago, Oxford's Churchill College hosted an academic symposium on its namesake legacy in which one scholar denounced Hitler's implacable foe at Churchill as the perfect embodiment of white supremacy. Yes, the wartime British leader was a complex man, but he saved the free world, and monstering Churchill is no less vile when it comes for the right. We are not fated to go the way of Germany or Russia, 20th century Germany, Russia. But the history of the last century does not offer us much hope. It is easy to denounce the lies our political enemies live by. It is much harder to do when our own friends, allies, and teenage children embrace different but equally wicked lies. As Alexander Solzhenitsyn reminded us, the line between good and evil runs not between political parties, races, or religions, but down the middle of every human heart. The brave dissidents who stood up to communist totalitarianism can see that most people prefer to keep their heads down and their mouths shut to avoid trouble. Most of us have that internal longing for harmony and happiness, mentioned that Miwash observed. There's always the fallacious belief it would not be the same here. Here such things are impossible, wrote Solzhenitsyn. Alas, all the evil of the 20th century is possible everywhere on earth. So, to answer that lecture attendee's question, Dreher writes, I told my questioner in Nashville that wokeness had not in fact peaked, but remained deeply embedded with American institutions. What's more, I said, it has migrated to the right. The conditions that allowed both forms of totalitarianism to triumph in Germany and Russia remain very much with us. If the United States suffers an economic collapse, as pre-Nazi Germany did, or loses a major war like Tsarist Russia, the seeds of totalitarianism now germinating in our decadent culture will germinate quickly. If we fail to confront this now, wherever it manifests, we cannot later claim we didn't see it coming. The Russians of 1917 and the Germans of 1934 had no experience of totalitarianism. What's going to be our excuse? So this too shall pass is not sufficient. And I quibble with something, this sort of construct that Dreher presents, not that he's not right about the illiberal anti-Semitic views that have taken hold among some on the right, but that it presents like a not just an equal threat. It's not equal to the left's totalitarianism, their totalitarian tendencies. So one, it's not equal. It's also of a different kind because it is not rooted in institutional control of society's mediating institutions. And that's a big difference. That's something the left still possesses, although it's being challenged for the first time in recent memory. But that's something the left has, power and systems that they have that the right does not. So it's a different sort of threat, and it's on a much different scale. But I agree with him that it needs to be addressed. And if that makes some people uncomfortable, or if some people want to rally to the defense of people who are crossing the line, like some of those names that Dreher mentioned, well, so be it. Going to have to hash things out. Robert in Bloomingdale, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning. To me, it seems like the whole world is a bunch of cults. You have the climate cult, where these people are climate cultists almost. Then you got the leftist cult in the United States, which is a little different but very similar. And now you have the Trump cult, where there's a whole bunch of people that think Trump can do nothing wrong. And then you got the European Union cult over there, where they're like as weird as it gets. And then you got in Russia, you got the Putin cult, where you have a dictator for 25 years. He can do nothing wrong. And then you got the American, what would you call it, Christian right cult, where they think certain things they do, like no matter what you do, as long as you do it in the name of Jesus, even support lunatic wars, do all kinds of loony stuff, it's fine because you're part of it. The whole world is a bunch of cults. And then China, you got the communist cult trying to use capitalism to get rich and take over the world. We're heading to a massive type of war because a lot of these cults have a lot of power. And heads are already banging when it comes to Europe and Russia, which, to me, trying to put Ukraine into NATO is the same thing as Cuba becoming part of the Soviet Union. Would we put up with that? Would the United States put up with that?
Okay, all right, I got it. Okay, thanks for the call. The cults of personality are dangerous. Somebody, a friend of mine who's a, good conservative, Trump supporter, all that, He said to me the other day, "Is there anything I'm missing about? I'm pleased with what Trump is doing, but is there anything missing? Is there anything I should be a little bit more skeptical of? Because I don't want to put myself in the position I put myself in with George W. Bush, where it was sort of a my party right or wrong, and I defended everything he did, including the way he pursued war in the Middle East, and in retrospect." And after
regrets it, or
and after all of the information came out about WMDs and so forth, I had a different opinion. So I don't want to, just sort of have blinders on because I like a lot of what Trump's doing, or because I appreciate that the fights that he has been through and survived in order to do a lot of the good things he's doing. And I said, that's a good way to think about it. You should be always skeptical. You should be thinking independently. I don't want to think for anybody, and I don't need anybody to think for me, and that's the posture we try to push people to take. So that's the way you should be looking at it, and that includes just frankly at the movement level or at the party level, if you will, when there are people suggesting things that are not consistent with our stated values or your stated values, your beliefs. Then you should say something and hash it out. I'm not talking about getting in the business of excommunicating or losing your mind, but not being silent, hashing things out, because you can't allow ugliness, or more to the point, illiberalism, to take hold, particularly among what ideally is a future core constituency for the Republican Party, which is young men. And that's the point I think that Dreer is getting to with some of this concern. Chris and Joliet.
I just think this is part and parcel of Soros DAs and stuff where justice has been denied for so long. You look in the comments section of most crime stories or stuff on there, the response to someone doing something wrong is no longer looking for justice. It's looking for vengeance. Someone leaves a dog in a car and it dies from the heat. That the comments section is calling for this person to be killed for it, to get the death penalty for it. There's no reasonable response on a justice level. It's vengeance for everything, and you see it coming from the right and you see it coming from the left. And it scares the hell out of me that I would be accused of something right now, because seeing our culture at that point, I wouldn't want a jury of my peers.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Chris. I mean, this is part of what Dreer argues about, and part of this goes back to, look, if identity politics is a dead end, if it is a noxious political philosophy than it is among young white men who are gathering, congregating based on their identity because it's countercultural. What he added, again, that conversation with a New York executive trying to de-radicalize younger brother. They find a transgressive thrill in scandalizing both the liberal cultural authorities who exhorted them to hate themselves and the conservative ones who preferred to stay silent as their sons, brothers, and friends were demonized. Yeah, they're upset, and they have some reason to be. But how that anger manifests itself is the question. It can be in a productive way, or it can be in an unproductive way, where you do the same. You end up doing the same things that you're criticizing. Interesting piece. I mean, it should be read and discussed widely. I know it will be in intellectual circles, but it needs to get down to the conversational level among the larger MAGA universe. Dan, and coming up at 6:36, we will turn our attention to the big, beautiful bill and its status. 6:36.
But now into the newsroom we go. Here's Nikki Whaley.
Good morning. It's 67 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. The Supreme Court is denying challenges to bans on assault-style guns and high-capacity magazines. Mark Mayfield reports.
The High Court turned down 2 cases that challenge a Maryland law banning assault-style weapons and a Rhode Island restriction on magazines. Laws in both states will remain in effect as a result. Other lawsuits over similar bans across the U.S. are ongoing, which means the Supreme Court is likely to see the issue again. 3 conservative justices said they voted to take it up, while Justice Brett Kavanaugh said he would like the court to hear a case related to the issue soon.
Today is National Egg Day, and there's some good news to go along with that.
The price of eggs has dropped nearly 61% since March. The latest data from the U.S. Department of Agriculture shows white large shell eggs now average about $2.52 per dozen. That's down sharply from over $8 a dozen during the first week of March. A study in April by Clarify Capital said over 30% of Americans had stopped buying eggs due to the high costs. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
News is a service of almostfreeteeth.com. What if you could save on average 90% for dental implants and get 100% of your smile back? With the Blue Cross Blue Shield PPO or FEP, it's possible. Check if you qualify at almostfreeteeth.com. I check out the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Mike Gallagher can see what Trump does to the left.
These people are miserable. They're just miserable, unhappy, bitter, angry, sullen brats who didn't get their way. The election didn't go the way they wanted it to go. And now all they do is march around and whine about how miserable they are. That's Trump's superpower.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Charlie Kirk at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
People ask us all the time, when's the best time to replace an old air conditioner? Simple. Before it breaks. Because when it does, you know it'll be the hottest day of the year, and suddenly you're scrambling like hundreds of others to get help during a heat wave. At Air Right Heating and Cooling, we've seen it all. We know there's never a good time to be without AC, especially in Chicagoland, where the humidity can make 80 degrees feel like 100. At Air Right, our experienced technicians don't just work fast, they'll do it right. Browse through our more than 1,500 5-star Google reviews to see what our loyal customers love most about us. If it's been a while since your system was inspected, don't wait for a heat wave before having it checked out. And right now, AM 560 listeners receive $56 off any service. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right, doing it right since 1959.
Hi, Amy Jacobson here. With the crime we're seeing in Illinois, I know how important it is to keep my home and my family safe. That's why I chose Goldilocks for my home security. One of their awesome technicians just came over and gave me a free assessment of my home. They found vulnerabilities that intruders typically look for and created a personalized plan for me. Goldilocks offers state-of-the-art smart home security systems with HD cameras, motion detectors, smart locks, mobile notifications. As you know, crime in Illinois is out of control, and I'll sleep easier knowing that Goldilocks has my back. They even offer commercial security systems for any size business. Tell them Amy Jacobson sent you, and Goldilocks will include 3 months of monitoring for free with any new install. Call Goldilocks today at 708-889-5600. That's 708-889-5600. Or visit them online at GoldilocksInc.com. That's GoldilocksInc.com.
Stop feeling embarrassed about thinning hair and start looking and feeling your best with Hair Grow by New Nordic. Available online at Amazon, Walmart.com, and NewNordicUSA.com, or at your local CVS.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 16 minutes. Outbound, 13 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 16 minutes. Outbound, 26 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 20 minutes. Outbound, 15 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, about 24 minutes. Outbound, about 15 minutes. This report is sponsored by Payday. Hardworking people need a hardworking candy bar packed with peanuts and filled with golden caramel. Payday is definitely working hard for you, so grab one to power you through your day. Payday Peanut Caramel Bar. Get to it. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Clouds and some sun, windy and warm. A high today 87. Periods of rain, thunderstorm. It'll be breezy tonight. Could be some pounding on the roads, low 58. Rain, thunderstorm for tomorrow, then a leftover shower, high 66. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. The big, beautiful bill. They're on a July 4th or bust schedule. Lisa McClain, who's a Republican House member from Minnesota and chairwoman of the House GOP conference, had this to say.
We have to secure our border. I don't think anybody wants any more illegals coming across our border.
Seems pretty secure right now, though.
Seems really secure right now. And we do need to beef up our military. We absolutely do. But the one big, beautiful bill is clear. We need to get that done so the American people don't see one of the largest tax increases that they're going to see in their lifetime. I mean, it's really simple. We got to get it done. We got to get it done by July 4th, and I'm confident we will.
I agree with her that it has to get done. It's not without its pitfalls, though. Elon Musk gave an interview to CBS News and had this to say on the BBB, which he certainly learned something from his time, inside the gate at the White House.
So then I'm a little stuck in a bind where I'm like, well, I don't want to, speak out against the administration, but I don't want to. I also don't want to take responsibility for everything the administration is doing. So, I was disappointed to see the massive spending bill, frankly, which increases the budget deficit, doesn't decrease it, and undermines the work that the DOGE team is doing.
I actually thought that when this big, beautiful bill came along. I mean, everything he's done on DOGE gets wiped out in the first year.
I think a bill can be big or it can be beautiful, but I don't know if it can be both.
Yeah.
My personal opinion.
Yes, very good.
You say that often too, Dan.
It can be big or beautiful, but it can't be both. The government doesn't do big well. Elon Musk, getting
you want less government.
A front row seat to that. And that CBS report, by the way,
is that?
as you would expect, is a moron. It doesn't undo everything that DOGE did, because DOGE is not done. It's a going concern, and that needs to be remembered as well. But the frustrations, meanwhile, the lament about how big this is and how little it does to really curb spending over the next decade. And yet the hue and cry from the left about draconian cuts, it's always the same with the left. And I don't know why conservatives don't figure this out and preemptively address this. Here is the left's philosophy on government. Confer benefits to build dependent constituencies. And the only thing that a conferred benefit, the only thing you can do to a conferred benefit is increase it. So confer the benefits, create the dependence, and take the posture across the board with everything. Once a benefit has been conferred, it can only be increased. In point of fact, here in Illinois, we are the case study in that. We even have a Supreme Court decision, state Supreme Court decision on it, right? The pension clause of the Illinois Constitution. You can confer pension benefits, but you can never reduce them prospectively. You can only increase them prospectively. It is lunacy. That is their position. If you want to, Medicaid cuts and rate of growth versus real cuts and so on, it's real simple. Confer benefits everywhere and anywhere you can to create dependence, and then nothing can be done. Those benefits are inviolate. The only option or the only discussion is by how much to increase them, if at all. But there will never be a reduction in benefits conferred.
312-642-5600. Turnkey.pro answer line. You could also text us on the very same line. All I keep hearing from the left, though, is that people are going to die. People are getting their Medicare taken away. But Medicaid. But there are people that are here illegally.
This is what I'm saying. This is like the whole thing. It's like Russ Vogt's response to Musk on Face the Nation over the weekend. I mean, it's a point, but it's not the central point.
I love Elon. This bill doesn't increase the deficit or hurt the debt. In fact, it lowers it by $1.4 trillion. What some of the watchdogs have done is they have used CBO's artificial baseline, which doesn't allow and assume that current tax law will be extended because of sunsets that are in the law. They don't do that with suspending. It is totally something that would be foreign to any common sense person who comes and looks at how we budget in this country. And so when you assume the extension of the president's tax relief from 2017, this budget or this bill, and it's really a reconciliation bill. It's not really a budget bill. It is using a budget process. This is a $1.4 trillion over 10 years deficit reduction. It's $1.6 trillion in mandatory savings. Obviously, we have a little bit of spending in there as well for border and defense. But that is the biggest mandatory savings package that we have seen since the 1997. It's very historic.
Yeah, it's very historic. I mean, this is, when you send the Green Eye Shades guy to be your messenger, it's usually not great, and that wasn't great. I mean, it's the historic. That's the greatest since 1997. So what? What is 1997 some magical? Was that a magical era of small government? No, of course not. Here's the thing. This is about if we improve worker productivity by 3% instead of the annual 1% to 2%, then some of these debt and deficit concerns go away. If we reduce taxes and unleash the productive capacity of risk takers in America, and grow GDP at 4.5%, 5%, then we take some of the... No, that's not the point. The point is that the federal government is in all sorts of businesses it shouldn't be in. The federal government is too big and it's too expensive, even if we could afford it. It is not just unproductive, it's counterproductive. It should be pared down on principle, not whether or not we can come up with some exotic way of financing this largesse. And $1.6 trillion over 10 years, first of all, making guarantees 10 years out in politics with budget documents is, not something that I would exactly rely on as locked in. And secondly, so that's, as we've talked about, $160 billion a year in a $7 trillion spend. With $37 trillion in debt and really about $135 trillion if you include unfunded liabilities. I mean, come on. So you can say this is the best we can do. You get to do what you're hearing this week about we didn't get here in a year. It's not going to be unwound in a year. Slim majorities. I get it. I get the limitations and the realpolitik of it. But don't tell me it's something that it's not. That's all. You want to know what really shifting the paradigm on the size of government sounds like? Well, we'll go visit our friend Javier Milei in Argentina. In 17 months he's been in office, 48,000 public sector jobs have been eliminated. That's a 10% trim of the state payroll. 10%. State-run companies lost 16% of their staff. Special law hires down 20%. Freelancers cut by more than half. They're saving $2 billion a year. A year in a country that obviously is much smaller. than the United States. And inflation has dropped. It is looking at, it actually ran its first, this fiscal year, ran its first budget surplus in more than a decade. Now, again, Trump has complications that Milei doesn't have. I'm not saying that this is easy to do. And Elon Musk found out just how difficult it is. But just don't tell me something. Just don't tell me this is something that it's not. That's all. Get it done and go back at it and see if you can, beat the street when it comes to the odds of retaining, much less expanding majorities in the two chambers, so that you have more that can get done on this score in Trump's final 2 years. The whole Medicaid cuts thing. I mean, it doesn't help when you have people like Josh Hawley demagoguing the issue for cheap sort of populist political points. Frankly, I kind of like the way that Joni Ernst handled the little imbroglio she got into on the
Cedar Rapids there.
Yeah, she's town hall, and you just have people come, just like I'm sure happens in your everyday life, and just repeat the talking point that has been bored into their skull by watching too much CNN or MSNBC or getting their DNC morning email. Cutting Medicaid, people are going to die. Well, that's the accusation that Joni Ernst fielded at that town hall, to which she said,
people are not... Well, we all are going to die.
We're all going to die.
Oh, my God, don't say that.
No, you're supposed to tell us we're going to live forever.
You're supposed to promise us longevity.
So after the performative hue and cry, Joni Ernst took to social media to offer this apology.
And I made an incorrect assumption that everyone in the auditorium understood that, yes, we are all going to perish from this earth. So I apologize. And I'm really, really glad that I did not have to bring up the subject of the tooth fairy as well. But for those that would like to see eternal and everlasting life, I encourage you to embrace my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
Not exactly an apology. No.
I like her sarcasm, though. That's good.
Yeah, so do I, actually.
That's the first time I've felt that.
Yeah,
seen that from her.
basically, right. Like,
And next, we're going to talk about the Easter Bunny.
Yeah, pound sand with your hysterics, right? Everything, again, once a benefit has been conferred, nothing can be done except to expand it and increase it. Expand the number of people it covers and increase the coverage or the benefit. Or people are going to die. It's so sophomoric. I'm glad somebody in office is finally tired of indulging it. Ross Vaught, going back to him on Face the Nation, on this whole people are going to die, Medicaid cuts business, the OMB director.
I think they're totally ridiculous. This is AstroTurf. This bill will preserve and protect the programs, the social safety net, but it will make it much more common sense. Look, 1 out of every $5 or $6 in Medicaid is improper. We have illegal immigrants on the program. We have able-bodied working adults that don't have a work requirement that they would have in TANF or even SNAP. And those are something that's very important to institute. That's what this bill does. No one will lose coverage as a result of this bill.
That's not what Josh Hawley, who is not exactly a liberal Democrat, said. He said it's wrong to cut health care for the working poor, and that's what we're talking about here with Medicaid.
Well, we continue to work with people in the Senate as to working them through with the specifics of the bill, what it does and what it doesn't do. We'll continue to do that. And I think at the end of the day, the Senate will have a resounding vote in favor of a substantially similar bill.
Well, Vaught, being the OMB director, is in a bit of a bind there to criticize Josh Hawley, but Josh Hawley is wrong. And what Josh Hawley is saying and demagoguing, as I said, is that imposing a work requirement is somehow reducing the coverage or cutting the coverage for the working poor. Dude, Medicaid was never intended for able-bodied people who can work as their health care. And not to mention, it's not health care health coverage anybody really wants. It's health coverage of last resort.
Yeah, you always need supplemental insurance with that.
But
still, people don't understand the origin of that program.
Well, right, because people don't make the arguments and say that this is bull jive. Not to mention, oh, by the way, as has been made over and over again for years. No institutional memory, no stick-to-itiveness when it comes to these arguments. Medicaid expansion under Obamacare. All you do by expanding this benefit and conferring it to people it was never intended to serve is make coverage worse for the people it was intended to serve. Because you have a system you can't finance. You essentially have a one single-payer system. And so it's the same old saw with Medicaid as it is with national health care in the UK or Canada. To borrow from PJ O'Rourke, the good news about that gallbladder surgery you need, it's free. The bad news is you're never going to get it. And the point is care worsens for the pregnant women and indigent children that it was originally and people with disabilities that it was intended to serve. It is not compassionate to take this posture. It is barbaric. But who's making that argument? And who's telling Josh Hawley to sit down and stop demagoguing? You're better than that. Mike and Dixon.
Yeah, I think I was doing the math, and 1.6 trillion comes to about 160 billion a year, which is what DOGE has already found so far. And I would have rather seen the Republicans say, okay, this year's budget, we're cutting that waste, fraud, and abuse. And as DOGE is an ongoing entity, every time that they get more waste, fraud, and abuse, a rescission package goes to Congress, and it's immediately passed. And then I wanted to ask you, Dan and Amy, is baseline budgeting still going on?
No. I mean, no. Thanks for the call. Not real. I mean, we should get, it should be zero-based budgeting. But, I mean, the baseline budgeting thing is very gooey. And it's sort of predicated on a fraud because what's the incentive structure? Spend everything you were allocated, otherwise your baseline gets reduced. It's not a proper way to do budget. Not in the public sector. Greg Schomburg.
Hey, Dan and Amy, I'd like to ask you to critique this idea. Ron Johnson has come out with this notion of the line item revision of the budget, which I think is a brilliant idea, but I think there's a mechanism that is needed to very granularly go in and present the arguments as you're talking about to the American public. And not on the Medicaid issue, but on the USAID issue. Yesterday, there was the story that Bill Gates got behind and the liberal media got behind it. There were 300,000 kids throughout the world that have died since DOGE came in and revised the USAID program. And what my idea is, to pick up on Ron Johnson's idea, is that, as I understand it through the discussion yesterday, the USAID program didn't get totally cut. It just was flagged in terms of the corruption that was involved. And I don't think that distinction is
that's exactly department. Yeah, we made that point yesterday. Like PEPFAR, which
I know you guys did.
Yeah, PEPFAR
but here's my point.
Yeah.
Here's my point. I don't think that there's a communication mechanism available to the public where they understand that. And thus, when Gates and these people come out and, the liberal media picks up on it, it just floats right through and further galvanizes our society.
Yeah, well, I agree. Thanks for the call, Greg. That's why, people have big platforms like Rogan need to be better at their job. When he had that exchange with Bono, and people with platforms that understand these things need to use them, including those national Republicans and those in federal offices. I mean, yeah, you got to relentlessly make the arguments, relentlessly present the case and the evidence to support the case. I can only do what we do here on our little platform.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer. Take the journey of living a happy, successful, and meaningful life through God. Listen to It's Time with Dan Lights, Sunday mornings at 9 on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life. AM 560. The Answer.
That sound means it's time for In-Depth History with Frank, the history teacher from Arlington Heights, because there's nothing new in this world. It's just a history you don't know, and Frank does. Frank, take it away.
Good morning. In the late 1700s, French settlers arrived on the Portuguese-discovered Chagos Archipelago in the middle of the Indian Ocean. The largest of these islands was known as Diego Garcia, and its African and Asian slave economy produced coconut oil. Britain got control in 1815, and thanks to William Wilberforce in Parliament, the Chagosians were soon freed from bondage and populated the chain until the 1960s, when the U.S. and U.K. decided to forcibly remove them to build an airbase for the Cold War. Last week, Britain ceded the Chagos to Mauritius, but the B-52 base remains, aimed right at Iran. Back in 1840s America, the safest way to get from New York to San Fran was still sailing 6,000 miles south around Cape Horn in South America. But this 5 to 6 month journey through the dangerous Drake Passage also required the ship to first sail over 2,000 miles east in order to get 2,900 miles west to California, due to how far east Brazil's eastern tip is. This long trip was necessary, though, because despite the exploration work of Zebulon Pike, Kit Carson, and John Fremont, travel by land was very difficult, if not outright tragic. I first learned of the Donner Party, who ate each other up, like Danny in the movie The Shining. But another later group of settlers made Death Valley famous when they tried to shortcut through the Mojave Desert and fell short. One alternative to these routes was a trip through Nicaragua, but its unpredictability due to disease, heat, and dishonest carriers dramatically lessened its appeal. Ultimately, this problem was overcome by railroads and by what late author David McCullough called the Path Between the Seas, or the Panama Canal, the construction of which claimed at least 30,000 lives. That's quite a price to pay for productivity, but thanks to Jimmy Carter, no U.S. base remains at this most strategic choke point.
I'll tell you what, it's interesting you bring up the Panama Canal, because I just saw that Panama has expelled 650 ships from its registry because they've been breaking the rules, doing things like moving oil from Iran. So the Trump influence on Panama and pushing out China, or at least minimizing their influence there, is paying some dividends. Very interesting.
Yes, that's good.
Frank,
have a great week.
Thank you so much, Frank, as always. Appreciate it.
Today it's going to be warm, another hot one, a high of 87 degrees. It is 7 a.m., WIND, Chicago.
2 of the victims are still in a hospital. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Among the 12 injured in Sunday's Boulder, Colorado terror attack, the man accused, Mohammed Solomon, is charged with a federal hate crime and state charges.
8 of those counts are for attempted murder with intent and after deliberation. The other 8 counts are attempted murder with extreme indifference.
Boulder County DA Michael Doherty.
According to the federal criminal complaint, Solomon said he would do it all over again and that he knew the gathering would be there because he found their schedule online.
Fox's Alicia Acuna in Boulder. Solomon says he'd been planning it for a year and tried to buy a gun, but wasn't allowed to since he's not a citizen and in the U.S. illegally.
Court documents show Solomon told authorities after his arrest when he couldn't get the gun, he researched on YouTube how to make a Molotov cocktail and admitted to throwing 2 of them at the group in Boulder who were quietly gathered for a weekly show of support for the hostages in Gaza.
Now in Gaza for a 3rd day in a row, shots were fired near a food distribution site, killing at least 27 people. Palestinian officials are blaming Israeli forces.
Israel's military acknowledges firing near a few individual suspects who left a designated route, approached its forces and ignored warning shots. The U.S.-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, which operates the aid sites, says there has been no violence in or around them. Meanwhile, 3 Israeli soldiers were killed by an improvised explosive device in northern Gaza.
Fox's Jonathan Savage. The day after Russia and Ukraine ceasefire talks led to just a swap of dead and wounded soldiers. Russia hit Ukraine again with a rocket attack, leaving 3 dead, many more wounded. President Trump posted on Truth Social overnight the economy is booming because of tariffs. as he puts many countries on the clock to avoid big tariffs on their imports that are currently on hold.
Two sources tell Fox the U.S. trade representative set a Wednesday deadline in a letter asking all countries in negotiations to submit their trade offers.
That's Fox's Jackie Heinrich at the White House. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It's 70 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. A photographer for Mayor Johnson's office is out of a job after being accused of carrying a firearm in a city-issued vehicle. The Chicago Tribune reports that Terrence Creighton was fired this spring for violating City Hall policy by bringing a gun onto a city-issued vehicle in April. He was terminated the same day his co-workers reported him. Creighton was hired in October of 2023 as a press aide right before being promoted as the mayor's photographer in March of 2024. Chicago police are searching for a group of teens wanted in a shooting near Wrigley Field last month. Authorities released photos of the 4 teens believed to be involved in the March 15th shooting outside of Murphy's bleachers that left a man wounded. The victim was taken to the hospital in fair condition. Several minors were detained after the incident but were later released. Another person is joining the list of cases tied to a former disgraced Chicago police detective that's been overturned. Antonio McDowell spoke after his homicide conviction was officially dismissed yesterday.
I'm free for the first time in nearly 30 years.
McDowell's lawyers say he was sentenced to more than 100 years in prison after being framed for the murder by retired detective Ronaldo Guevara. He spent 23 years in prison before being released in 2020 when Governor Pritzker granted him clemency. News is the service of almostfreeteeth.com. What if you could save on average 90% for dental implants and get 100% of your smile back? With a Blue Cross Blue Shield PPO or FEP, it's possible. Check if you qualify at almostfreeteeth.com. I check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Make sure that you never miss a day of Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson when you subscribe to the Chicago's Morning Answer podcast, presented by Signature Bank. Listen to the entire show each day on demand with limited commercial breaks. You can subscribe today for free at 560theanswer.com and click on podcasts or search for Chicago's Morning Answer on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
That shot was money, Lisa. Hey, speaking of, did you ever figure out what to do with your parents' old coin collection?
Not yet. I need a reputable dealer to appraise them. I have no clue what they're worth.
I just finished working on my dad's estate collections. I took it all to Fox Valley Coins. Their customer service was the best. Plus, they're super honest and reputable, but most importantly, experienced. They'll give you the best prices.
Really? They handle estate collections?
Absolutely. Buying, selling, appraising, they do it all. It was quick and simple, and we maintained our privacy. Fox Valley Coins made the whole process easy.
That's exactly what I need. Are they local?
Right in Naperville. They have an easy website to remember. FoxValleyCoins.com.
Perfect. Now let's see if you can return this shot.
Whether buying or selling or just want valuation, Fox Valley Coins is your trusted gold and silver dealer. Visit Fox Valley Coins, 1 light north of I-88 on Route 59 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. FoxValleyCoins.com. Family-owned integrity since 1981.
Hey, it's Mike Rowe, and if you want to do business with a company that actually stands for something, switch to Pure Talk. I did. Sure, I appreciate being on America's most dependable 5G network with unlimited talk and text for just $20 a month. But what I really appreciate is Pure Talk's commitment to our military and to our skilled workforce. That matters to me. Save 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say keyword Mike Rowe. Pure Talk, a wireless company that actually stands for something.
Surprise! Your expenses this month were way higher than you expected! Also, you forgot to renew your website domain and now you're in a bidding war!
You should see the look on your face.
At Progressive, we know small business owners don't usually like surprises because they cost you money. But a good surprise that could save you money? Getting a commercial auto quote from Progressive.
Plus, the fridge died in the break room and now everything smells weird!
Surprise yourself. See if you can save in as little as 7 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Our goal is to provide patients with the strongest, most effective, and safest options in this exciting field of regenerative medicine.
Dr. Mitchell Scheinkup, National Medical Director at QC Kinetics.
The idea that you can avoid a joint replacement is very exciting.
And that's from a surgeon who's done thousands of joint replacements, but who now believes there's a better way.
Regenerative medicine, as we understand it today, gives lasting pain relief, improved function, without surgery, without drugs.
Under Dr. Scheinkup's leadership, QC Kinetics medical professionals treat patients every day with the most advanced protocols in natural biologics. Literally tens of thousands of people all over America.
I've been doing research on regenerative medicine for 2 decades. This is the future of medicine.
Call QC Kinetics for your free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
Taking a look at your drive in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center with this traffic report, a service of Air Right Heating Cooling. Stevenson inbound, if this is your route, there is a cleanup. The hazard, the oil leaking, the broken down semi on the Stevenson inbound off-ramp at Damon. It's at the top of the ramp. Eden's inbound, Lake Cook to Montrose, 18 minutes, no delays. Eden's outbound, Montrose to Lake Cook, the same. Kennedy inbound, O'Hare to Burn Interchange, 54 minutes. Montrose to Damon, 17 minutes. Outbound Kennedy, Burn Interchange to Montrose, 59. Between Chicago Avenue and Pulaski, it is a parking lot. Outbound Kennedy, Burn Interchange to O'Hare, 74 minutes. Eisenhower inbound, you're looking at a 49-minute ride. Jane Addams to the Old Post Office, outbound between Old Post Office and Wolf, 25 minutes. Stevenson inbound, 355 to Lakeshore, 40 minutes. 42 minutes. The Stevenson outbound from Lakeshore Drive to the Tri-State, you're looking at a 24-minute ride. I'm KT, and Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. But now, a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
A blend of sun and clouds, windy and warm. A high today, 87. Periods of rain, thunderstorm this evening. Could be some ponding on the roads, low 58. Periods of rain, thunderstorm for tomorrow. Leftover shower in the afternoon. The high tomorrow, 66. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. This Trump administration, Department of Justice move hasn't gotten a lot of attention, but it deserves some. I love it. Long overdue. Attorney General Bondi announcing the other day, the American Bar Association has lost its way, and we do not believe it serves as a fair arbiter of judicial nominees. Therefore, we're no longer going to give the ABA the access they've taken for granted to vet and rate, I'm adding this, to essentially vet and rate judicial nominees. Long overdue, kneecapping the ABA. And Ted Cruz, on the podcast he does with Ben Ferguson, who, by the way, Ben Ferguson reminds me of Vern from Stand By Me.
Oh, really?
Just as an aside. Every time I see him, I think
do they
of
look
Vern.
alike, or do they talk the same? Is it his mannerisms, all of that?
It's the
everything?
Similar look.
Okay.
Yeah. Ted Cruz commenting on this kneecapping of the ABA.
They engaged that they would do a formal role and they would rate the qualifications of judicial nominees. Now, here's the problem. For decades, the ABA's qualification measures were wildly biased. So, for example, Robert Bork, Ronald Reagan nominated Robert Bork to the Supreme Court in 1987. Robert Bork was, by any measure, one of the most qualified federal judicial nominees in the history of this country. Robert Bork had been the Solicitor General of the United States, the chief lawyer for the United States in front of the Supreme Court of the United States. Robert Bork had been one of the most renowned and respected law professors for decades. Robert Bork had been a federal judge on the U.S. Court of Appeals for the D.C. Circuit, and so a remarkable career. And yet the ABA, when they evaluated Robert Bork, they concluded he was, quote, not qualified to be a judge. They also concluded the same thing for Frank Easterbrook. Again, brilliant judge, brilliant professor, one of the greatest judges to have ever served on the Court of Appeals, Frank Easterbrook. The ABA concluded he was not qualified. Also, Edith Jones. Edith Jones is a judge on the Fifth Circuit Federal Court of Appeals down in Texas. I know Judge Jones well. She's a phenomenal jurist, one of the best and most conservative judges in the entire country. The ABA rated her not qualified. Well, the breaking news is this week the Trump Justice Department announced the ABA will no longer have a role in judicial selection. They will no longer have a role in vetting. They're out. And the Department of Justice said, you know what? They can chime in like any other left-wing advocacy group, but they don't have a role in this process.
It's really great. And the examples he gave, I don't know as much about Edith Jones, but Frank Easterbrook is here on the Seventh Circuit. He has been for 35 years, maybe 40 years. Anyway, he is a brilliant jurist. And, it's consistent with what I do like about the Trump administration very much, which is all of these gatekeepers who've been very comfortable in their perches, all these institutions who have come to expect certain things, entitled to certain things, that's all being challenged, and it's long overdue. And this is another wonderful example of doing just that. To hell with the ABA. George Perry is a former federal and state prosecutor, regular contributor to the American Spectator. He blogs at knowledgeisgood.net. George, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Happy to be with you.
Would you like to second my motion to damn the ABA to hell?
Yeah, I beat you to it by decades. In 1980, I'm looking here. Back in the 1980s, the ABA took a stance. Actually, it was in August 1992. I've just looked it up. They took a stance on abortion. And previously, they had been neutral on the subject of abortion. But in August 1992, at their annual meeting in San Francisco, they came out and took a pro-abortion stance. And that was when some of us in the ABA decided to quit because, and I sent a letter to the ABA at the time, and I wound up in the ABA Journal. I said, if we have a position on abortion, what's our position on apartheid, gun control, concentration camps in Bosnia, homelessness, AIDS, and ozone depletion? So what's that got to do with the practice of, what does any of this have to do with the practice of law?
Right.
And then it just went down from there. What ultimately happened was the ABA became the arbiter of what was to be an accredited law school. In effect, the ABA was in a position to turn out the lights of any law school that didn't meet its agenda. So the steps that Trump is taking, especially with the ABA requiring law schools to practice diversity, equity, and inclusion, or else risk losing their accreditation, this action by Trump is just long overdue. The ABA has been highly politicized since the 1990s, and they apply the same standards to their judicial review of judicial nominees. I've been interviewed any number of times by ABA panel members who are investigating people who have been recommended for federal judgeships. And their questions routinely include questions about the nominees' political stances, which has virtually nothing to do with their qualifications to be good jurors. And the subtext in all of this was, if the nominee didn't have the right politics, the right progressive politics, that was going to be a mark off as far as the ABA was concerned. So I'm delighted that Trump and his administration have taken this step, because the APA has been out of control for far too long and has had far too much authority, not only in judicial nominations, but also in the accreditation of law schools.
How? What has your assessment been of how the Trump administration is handling the injunctionitis, as Jonathan Turley calls it, at the federal district court level? Waiting for the Supreme Court to weigh in on every federal district court judge having essentially nationwide injunction power at present.
Well, I think what's happening here is the Trump administration is willing to run out the string with the Supreme Court. But I predict that if the Supreme Court doesn't take a firm stance on putting in effect a leash on these district court judges, I think Trump is just the guy who will pull an Andrew Jackson and say, okay, you made your ruling, try and enforce it. Because the fact of the matter is, all of the enforcement mechanisms, when a federal judge holds someone in contempt, what are his tools for enforcing the contempt order? Well, you got the U.S. Marshals. You've got the ability to levy, the individual's property. Well, who enforces all of that? Well, the U.S. Marshals work for the president. All of the enforcement mechanisms are with the president. So basically, the courts, all they really have is moral suasion. And if they keep doing this, their moral suasion is going to go away, and then they have no practical way of actually enforcing their orders without the cooperation of the executive. And I think Trump is just the guy to tell the judicial branch to go pound sand the way Andrew Jackson did, and for that matter, Abraham Lincoln did. When you have an emergency, and I think this massive invasion of millions upon millions of people that were imported by the Biden regime into the country, that poses a true national emergency. To get them out of here. And these judges who say, yeah, well, you got to have a trial for each one of these guys. No, you don't. And I think Trump is perfectly prepared to say if the Supreme Court doesn't clean up this mess promptly, he's perfectly prepared to say, okay, we've heard enough from you guys. Now we're going to really go into high gear and get this thing cleaned up. The TV commentators, the legal commentators are going to say, oh, this is a constitutional crisis. Well, no, it's not. It's not a constitutional crisis that would have been created by Trump. It's a constitutional crisis created by a bunch of out-of-control district court judges who should know better.
The law and order issue, we've talked to you a lot about over the years. Out your way in the Northeast, it's been interesting because you see violent crime coming down across the country in big urban centers, sort of trending back towards pre-Black Lives Matter, George Floyd numbers. But we keep, coming back to this word accountability. In your neck of the woods, Larry Krasner gets reelected as the DA in Philadelphia. You have this New York City council human named Althea Stephen in a hearing with New York City, New York NYPD, New York City Police Department, reiterating her call for them to eliminate the gang database when something like this.
I know the police's feelings on the gang database and how, they feel that it can be improved. I'm just always going to stand on the side of things cannot be fixed when it already comes with a broken system. A broken clock could be right twice a day, and things like that just have to go because it stems from racism. And I know that you feel very differently, but that's just not going to change it. And I know it's in your testimony. I was not going to bring it up, but because you brought it up, I'm going to bring it up. And so I know we have conversations coming up to talk about how you feel about it, I feel about it, but I just have to say it because you brought it up, and so I just brought it up. So that's it. Thank you guys so much.
No, thank you. So still the race hustle, still the sort of defund posture, still the same decarceration, deprosecution, prosecutors, quotation marks, like Larry Krasner. So what do you think is happening or not happening in places like New York and Philly, even with sort of crime organically, violent crime at least organically coming down a bit?
Well, I can speak to the situation in Philadelphia, which is where I am. First of all, crime is not coming down. What's coming down are the statistics, because the statistics are being cooked. The quickest way to clean up your crime problem, your FBI crime statistics, is just to stop reporting them to the FBI database. And the situation in Philadelphia is just as bad as it's ever been. Larry Krasner has never met a criminal that he doesn't like. And we have really no enforcement mechanism in place in Philadelphia for serious crime. And so, because Krasner, as the district attorney, controls that. So the fact of the matter is, at least according to the people I know who are in the police department who can't talk publicly about any of this, the crime situation, especially street crime, crimes of violence, is just as bad as it's ever been. But the administrators are not releasing that information to the FBI. So our crime stats in Philadelphia are not very low. They're lower than they have been in the past, but the situation remains the same. Homicides are off slightly, but Philadelphia is still just, we're just killing each other at an alarming rate around here. So I'm not buying it that the crime stats are down, and I can tell you just from up close contact with the whole situation, Larry Krasner believes in de-incarcerating, and as a matter of fact has bragged about this, that our jails are, the capacity of our jails are the inmate population in our jails has been dramatically reduced by Larry Krasner.
Mm-hmm.
And these are people who were repeat offenders who were out on the street offending.
So we're living parallel lives, because the Cook County Board President here, Tony Preckwinkle, will brag about the same things, and the previous Cook County State's Attorney did the same. So what do you attribute the political stasis to? I mean, Larry Krasner gets reelected, like I said. So if he's telling people to believe to not believe their lying eyes, but the Cook statistics, as you say, then how does he get returned to office?
Well, in Philadelphia, you have to understand the district attorney's race is always an off-year race, which means two things. Number one, it's primarily controlled by the ward leaders who, if you give them enough money, that's called walking around money here in Philadelphia. If you give a ward leader walking around money, he'll put you on his sample ballot for Election Day, and he'll go out and campaign for you in the lead up to Election Day. Larry Krasner is financed by George Soros. He's got enough money to buy all of the ward leaders from now into perpetuity, and no other candidate. And it's hard for candidates for the district attorney's office in Philadelphia to raise money, because the district attorney does not have a lot of patronage that he can dispense to his political cronies. So they're unable to raise a lot of money. Krasner doesn't have that problem. He's financed by George Soros. He's got tons of money. And if I gave $1,000 to a Philadelphia ward leader, he'd put Adolf Hitler on his sample ballot if I asked him to.
It may not even take that much.
Yeah. No, well, it wouldn't actually. But the point is, the election of Larry Krasner to the district attorney's office is not an expression of the true political will of the people of Philadelphia. In an off-year election, people tend not to vote, and the ones who do are the ones who the ward leaders turn out for the election, and the ward leaders can be bought for a song. So there's the key to Larry Krasner's success, and he can be district attorney of Philadelphia into perpetuity.
George Perry, former federal and state prosecutor, regular contributor to the American Spectator. He blogs at knowledgeisgood.net. George, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Okay, always a pleasure.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
What's wrong, Ben? Nicole can read my mind, Arvid. What?
We were talking about the optionizable Ashton recliner at Penny Mustard.
I said I'd like it in leather, and she said...
Done.
I suggested a different leg color, and she said...
Done.
Spooky.
Look, I don't think Nicole can really read your mind.
Well, not anymore. That's why I'm wearing this tinfoil hat.
It smells fishy.
I wrap my lunch in it.
The Ashton recliner, starting at $28.70 at Penny Mustard.
7 locations throughout Chicagoland.
PennyMustard.com.
Hey, Amy Jacobson here, and OMG, I was absolutely speechless when I saw my new garage floor. Level 10 Coatings did such an amazing job, and now my garage floor shines. Level 10 Coatings specializes in expert garage floor coatings for both residential and commercial spaces. Their floors are durable, easy to maintain, and best of all, done in just one day. Hey, if you've been thinking about upgrading your garage floor with that shiny new showroom look, please call my good friends at Level 10 Coatings at 855-510-2628 or book your free consultation online at level10coatings.com. And here's a bonus. Mention me, Amy Jacobson, and you'll get $500 off your project. Call 855-510-2628 or visit level10coatings.com today, or call 855-510-2628.
Big or small, we coat them all. Level 10 Coatings, your custom concrete coating solution.
Are you looking for a peaceful and enduring resting place for yourself or a loved one? Discover Fairview Memorial Park in North Lake, Illinois, a tranquil haven where your family's legacy can be honored for generations. We're excited to announce the upcoming completion of our beautiful new garden mausoleum opening this spring, offering both above-ground burial and cremation options. This serene space is surrounded by meticulously maintained landscaping and beautiful trees. With limited space available in our mausoleum, now's the time to plan ahead. Reserve your family's place today with prices starting around $7,000. And for a limited time, take advantage of a $500 discount when you pre-purchase a crypt. To learn more or secure your spot, visit fairview-memorialpark.com. That's fairview-memorialpark.com. Or stop by Fairview Memorial Park at 900 North Wolf Road in North Lake. Fairview Memorial Park. Peacefully beautiful.
You're great at protecting your personal information. You might even use things like two-factor authentication and strong passwords. But as much as you try to control how your info's protected, there are other places that also have it, and they may not be as careful. That's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats. If your identity's stolen, they'll fix it guaranteed, or your money back. Save 40% your first year with my name, Clay, as the promo code at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
Surprise! Your expenses this month were way higher than you expected. Also, you forgot to renew your website domain, and now you're in a bidding war.
You should see the look on your face.
At Progressive, we know small business owners don't usually like surprises because they cost you money. But a good surprise that could save you money? Getting a commercial auto quote from Progressive.
Plus, the fridge died in the break room, and now everything smells weird. All right.
Surprise yourself. See if you can save in as little as 7 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Are you turning 65 and thinking about Medicare? Or are you over 65 and haven't enrolled yet because you still have coverage at work? Either way, Medicare done correctly will be the best health insurance you will ever have. Imagine having an annual deductible of only $257. There are only two good things about aging, wisdom and Medicare. But to navigate the Medicare maze properly, you need a mentor. Best part? My guidance costs you nothing. Call me. I can help.
If you're tired of calling a bureaucrat at an 800 number to help you navigate Medicare, then you need a local expert on your side.
your own health insurance mentor. C. Stephen Tucker from healthinsurancementors.com is someone I know and trust. He's a 30-year licensed broker who's been educating our listeners for more than a decade. Steve, how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Thanks, Dan. They can visit healthinsurancementors.com or call me directly at 630-674-1551. That's 630-674-1551.
Enjoy uninterrupted programming from Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson around the clock, all day, every day, including daily replays of Chicago's Morning Answer on Dan and Amy 24/7. Listen now at danandamy247.com. AM 560, The Answer.
I love our audience. This gives me some hope for America's future. I got an email questioning my characterization of Seventh Circuit Court Judge Frank Easterbrook as a brilliant jurist. Now, the fact that people in our audience know who Frank Easterbrook is heartening. He writes, does Jeff, I believe a brilliant jurist is capable of applying USCC precedent to cases before said judge. Why is Easterbrook unable to apply Heller and Bruin to 2A litigation? A brilliant jurist cannot properly interpret our fundamental 2A rights? ? No, Dan, he is no longer brilliant. He is bitter and jaded as he thinks he should be sitting in the seat occupied by Justice Thomas, a brilliant jurist.
Oh.
Ouch. Zing.
Claws are out.
I got to say, and I replied to him, he is right about Easterbrook and the Second Amendment. He's right about that. And so that's a point taken. And perhaps there is some bitterness about not being elevated to the high court. But that is unfortunate because Easterbrook is and was at least a brilliant mind. He's got to be in his late 70s now, but is and was a brilliant legal mind. But it's not to say he's beyond reproach. And so I take the point, Jeff. Thank you for offering that substantive critique. It's fun.
And thanks for listening. All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 7:37, we turn our attention to all things Illinois policy related, including
those love letters to Mike Madigan.
Yes, all the character witnesses for Mike Madigan as he awaits sentencing after his corruption convictions. We'll start there with Ted Dabrowski, wirepoints.org, 7:37.
But now into the newsroom we go. Here's Nikki Whaley.
Good morning. It's 70 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Senator John Fetterman says the Democrats' handling of the border was a mistake. Mark Mayfield has the story.
Fetterman noted his support of the roughly $150 billion in President Trump's so-called Big Beautiful Bill that would go towards securing the U.S.-Mexico border and ramping up immigration enforcement within the nation. Fetterman said, I thought the border was really important, and our party did not handle the border appropriately. The Congressional Budget Office reported last year that the annual net migration under former President Biden averaged 2.4 million people from 2021 to 2023.
Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell says it's vital the central bank understands the financial practices of other nations. While speaking at the International Finance Division's 75th anniversary conference, Powell said seeing data from around the world helps the Fed navigate inflation and employment.
In my time at the Fed, the IF division has provided invaluable insight into global economic activity, international trade and capital flows, and developments in foreign financial markets.
Likewise, Powell says the world looks to the Federal Reserve when there's a crisis to see how it responds. It comes as the Fed has held the interest rates steady despite calls from the president to lower them. News is a service of Quick Delivery Service. Make Quick Delivery Service your personal ground crew. Anytime, anywhere, any place when you need to move your shipment or freight, Quick Delivery will get it there. Get a quote in advance and eliminate any surprises at quickdelivery.com. I check out the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Charlie Kirk sees the president making strategic moves.
China needs Saudi Arabia. China needs Qatar. China needs the United Arab Emirates. But if President Trump, being the master statesman, is able to negotiate some friendship and some relationship with these Gulf states, he's then able to diplomatically ice out China when China needs these three actors.
The Charlie Kirk Show, weekdays at 11, right before Hugh Hewitt at 2 on AM 560. The Answer.
It's Reveille.
Illinois Democrats passed their budget for the upcoming year, and it's a doozy. It's the largest budget in state history, up $2 billion from last year and $15 billion, or nearly 40% from just 6 years ago. It includes nearly $1 billion in tax increases and continues to fund bogus nonprofits that are nothing more than politically connected organizations feeding off taxpayers with no accountability. There's no property tax relief in the budget, and still under consideration is a $1.50 delivery charge on Amazon, Uber Eats, and the like to bail out Chicago Transit. Even more shameful is the lip service the Democrats gave the developmentally disabled community. Illinois ranks 49th out of 50 among states in the level of support it gives the developmentally disabled. 2 years ago, Democrat legislators LaPointe, Collins, Villanueva, and Syed wrote an op-ed in the Sun-Times bemoaning the low wages direct support personnel receive. They noted DSPs can, sadly, make more money at an Amazon warehouse or driving for Uber, and many have reluctantly made that choice just to feed their own families. They pleaded with Governor Pritzker to increase the wages by $4 per hour. The goal is a wage that is 150% of the minimum wage. Pritzker increased wages marginally, but then he cut hours. The same thing happened the year before. This year, no different. The Democrats put an 80-cent per hour increase for DSPs in the state budget without changing the overall appropriation amount, meaning they will see a 35% cut in hours and, compared to the minimum wage, fall further behind the target. The 4 Democrats who wrote about the problem 2 years ago voted for this year's budget that makes the problem worse. And then they also voted themselves a $7,000 a year pay raise. I'm Jeannie Ives. Be informed. Listen to The Real Story Sunday from 7 to 9 p.m. and sign up for my newsletter at breakthrough-ideas.com.
Wow. At the time of this being written, both gold and silver are up some 40%. That's 40% in just 1 year. In fact, this past year, gold has broken all-time historic records by hundreds of dollars an ounce. And unlike all other financial instruments used today, that historic record goes back thousands of years. In times like these, prices have never been better on most collector and gold coins. Fox Valley Coins in Naperville is trying to keep up with demand. So they're paying the most ever on not only most gold coins and bars, but also those old coin and paper money collections. They're especially looking for the scarcer dates and higher grade coins. Take advantage of the record high market price and our huge demand now, whether you're buying or selling, or just want to find out their worth. Fox Valley Coins is the place to go. Fox Valley Coins is on Route 59, just one light north of I-88 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. Family-owned integrity since 1981.
Protect your liver and give it the support that it deserves with Active Liver from New Nordic. Find it in stores at your local CVS, Meijer Grocery, or Amazon, or newnordicusa.com.
From the Team Hoffberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 19 minutes, 15 minutes outbound. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 31 minutes outbound, about 62 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 42 minutes, outbound 27 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 37 minutes, outbound about 26 minutes. This report is sponsored by Wendy's. Big news, bacon lovers. Wendy's Son of a Baconator is only $3 for a limited time. For just $3, you get crispy, crunchy apple smoked bacon, 2 juicy patties, and plenty of cheese on a burger. For bacon that just won't quit, gotta be Wendy's. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Clouds and some sun, windy and warm. A high today 87. Periods of rain, thunderstorm. It'll be breezy tonight. Could be some pounding on the roads, low 58. Rain, thunderstorm for tomorrow, then a leftover shower, high 66. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Insert Democrat socialist here.
Runs the Democratic House law for 30 plus years running. He's promising this and he's stealing that. Where can you get that kind of money? He's using your house like his own piggy bank. You ought to know by now. You can pay off your house here in Illinois, but you can never never keep up with the taxes. Oh, how it's always been the plan to have a taxpayer pay, no doubt. Not a matter of if anymore, but when you're moving out. I said, when you're
Top of the
moving
morning,
out.
Dan and Amy. So that theme music means it's time for our weekly conversation with Ted Dabrowski, president of wirepoints.org, all things Illinois policy related. Before we get to Ted, the letters pouring in for one former House Speaker, Mike Madigan, the longest-serving state House Speaker in the history of America. 250 letters have been sent to the judge who will mete out Mike Madigan's sentence after being convicted on corruption charges. John Blakey is his name. Feds want 12.5 years and $1.5 million fine. Madigan wants no prison time and 5 months probation and a reasonable fine. Former Attorney General Lisa Madigan, Daddy's little girl. In a city where people used to talk about having parking tickets fixed, I learned from Mike that I was expected to follow the law, either feed the meter or pay the parking tickets.
Wow. Her civic duty, it's impressive.
He instilled in his children the same life lessons he lived under himself. Get as much education as possible, work hard, help others, and be honest and scrupulously ethical. Honest and scrupulously ethical. Those are adjectives that are being used to describe Mike Madigan by his little girl, Lisa, who's now got a phony baloney job at Kirkland and Ellis because big law is in bed with big government, particularly in this city. I know Mike Madigan would never intentionally commit a crime. He is the consummate rule follower, she continued.
Oh.
Punishing him for trying to help people, something we are all taught to do, that is the true injustice.
And this is a former Attorney General of the state of Illinois.
She's his daughter first.
Oh,
well, as we saw when she was Attorney General, turning a blind eye to all this. He is a political prisoner, Mike Madigan.
So he's the victim. No, that's how they're framing this.
He is Nelson Mandela.
Oh, yeah, right. A real hero. What has he done for Illinois?
He's made it better. Jim Edgar, that's not me saying it, that's no less a Republican governor, former Republican governor, Jim Edgar, who, you know, up until about 5 minutes ago, the Republican Party in this state has tried to get to run for every available office when there was an opening, because they do such a great job being diligent candidate recruitment, doing candidate recruitment and professional development. Anyway, I digress. Mike made mistakes, as we all did in our professional careers. Who among us? Let he cast the first stone. Mike made mistakes, as we all did in our professional careers, but he did far more good in making the state a better place to live. Bill Lipinski served in Congress for 2 decades. Mr. Integrity.
That's what they call Madigan.
That's what he calls Mike Madigan.
Mr. Integrity? Okay.
Mr. Integrity.
I'll make a T-shirt now. Mike Madigan, Mr. Integrity.
Jerry Reinsdorf vouched for Madigan's, quote, character and his lifetime commitment to improving the lives of all Illinoisans. He has improved the lives of all Illinoisans in much the same way Ed Brooke improved the lives of all Chicagoans, in much the same way that Father Flager has improved the lives of all the St. Sabina parishioners. Institutions! But that's how it is here in Illinois, as we know. All of these individuals who sent letters on behalf of Madigan, more or less the same list that sent letters last June on behalf of Ed Burke before he was sentenced. Repeat with me, won't you? They are dedicated public servants who work tirelessly to improve the lives of all Illinoisans, who, like anyone, made mistakes, but those mistakes are far overshadowed by all they did to make this state a better place to live. You may not like how they did it, but at the end of the day, after 50 years, you look back and you say,
thank you.
Exactly.
Mr. Madigan.
Thank you, Mr. Integrity to you, young lady.
Excuse me.
It's really something to behold, isn't it?
Well, they're trying to get out of the 12-and-a-half-year sentence that the feds want.
I'm talking about the letter writers.
Oh, yeah, the letter writers, yes. You're seeing a different, softer side of lying side of them.
As we discussed earlier in the program, the same old ruse. It's not the Ed Burke I knew. It's not the Mike Madigan I knew. That was not my experience. Ted Dabrowski joins us now. Ted, thanks for joining us. You were in and around policy during the latter portion of the Madigan hegemony. The Mike Madigan you knew, did you submit a character letter?
It's funny. I should have submitted a character letter. I think a lot of government misses him because they don't like the chaos that's out there without Madigan. They don't like the budget process is much more difficult. Things made sense for them under Madigan. The power structure was more clear. He kept order, and now all these guys miss him. And they probably can't leverage the machine in the same way that they used to be able to under Madigan. It's just a little more difficult with Pritzker and Welch and Harmon and these guys. So it's unbelievable. And, what's interesting about all these letters, it would be something else if Madigan had made Illinois a better place to live. But, if you look at every statistic for Illinois, it's a much worse place to live. So, not only did he do all his harms, but he didn't make Illinois better. He made it worse.
Mm-hmm. I mean, just the Jim Edgar, and just what it says, to borrow a Cassism, what it says about the bipartisan combine in this state that sort of persists. You read that, and if you're just a workaday Illinoisan who pays passing attention to this and you see this, and you're sort of disgusted and maybe you're checked out because there doesn't seem to be any opposition party, or that they all seem to be sort of in on the scams that you're cut out of. And you just look at that and you say, what? You just have to say, I would think you would just say, what is the point? This is a grifter class, and there's nobody out there that seemingly wants to do anything about it. They just sort of cover each other and lather on the lies as necessary. It's part of that covering for one another. Kept his word, Mr. Integrity, worked tirelessly to make life better. Burke, Madigan, everybody. And the same with these Republican legislative leaders and party poobahs over the years. It is just such a den of thieves. I don't want any part of it. That's what I think a lot of Illinoisans think.
Well, I think there's two sides. I think there's a lot of Illinois who think that, and those are the many who actually left Illinois, right? They're living in Florida and in Texas and Tennessee. There's a whole bunch of those who know that, smell that. It's obvious to them. But then there's that other class of people who don't really pay attention, who don't care. And trust me, when I'm out there, I see it all the time. They listen to what NBC5 is reporting. Okay, that they listen to these letters. They hear the message. And they don't know the depth of it. They know just the headlines, and they're going to buy into it. And just like schools are okay, and graduation rates are at all-time highs, Madigan wasn't such a bad guy. He's actually an honorable guy, and this is what kind of perpetuates. And this is why I hold so much of the media, accountable, is that they perpetuate the lies, and they do a great job of doing it. And this is why we are where we are. We have this kind of weird split: people who leave, and then the other half who participate in this in some way and keep it going.
This year's budget, it's exciting. It's not perfect. Some mistakes were made, but it does right by the people of Illinois to make this a better place for people to live. Just like Mike Madigan used to do, doesn't it?
It does. It's what you were talking about earlier. It's the same old, hey, good intentions. We're going to do more and more. We're going to get more people on Medicaid. We're going to spend more on education. Those pensions need to be bigger. It just goes on, and it's fascinating how we're on a roll right now. And this is Pritzker's 7th budget, and it just does more and more and more. Path stays the same. Nothing changes. More taxes, more spending, and when you look at the final stats of where Illinois is, it's pathetic. And how we perpetuate this as voters, as citizens, it's sad. And at some point, we have to figure out that less is more. But right now, more is more.
Yeah, but didn't they cram in everything with only 24 hours for Republicans to read the 3,500-page bill? Same old bull jive.
Yeah, same old thing. Yeah, exactly. No, there's no difference. So, yeah, everybody knows what's coming. It's going to be more spending, more tax hikes, and we have to figure out what actually happened. And I tell you, what's interesting about this budget than all the previous ones I've worked on is that nobody still quite knows what's been passed.
I know I know they got a 7,000. The legislators gave themselves $7,000 pay raise to kick their salaries up to $98,000 for a part-time job, which isn't terrible.
Yeah, that part's clear. But yeah, I'm seeing a lot of not bad reporting. Nobody knows what to report, so people are reporting the wrong things about what actually happened. So we're still peeling back the onions. But yeah, the raise there for lawmakers kind of tells you everything you need to know.
Well, we're going to have to pay higher taxes for hair, nails, massages, facials, Botox, waxings.
Yeah, well,
door deliveries, FedEx, not food, but FedEx, Amazon.
You rich honkies pay your fair share.
No. But people are just waking up to this. That's the problem.
Geez. They're not waking up to anything. That's the problem.
And we've still got more to come, right? Because they haven't figured out what to do with this whole mess with Metra and CTA. You're talking about, $1 billion, $2 billion more taxes coming as well. So it's just a matter of how they negotiate it between themselves.
Well, that's because of the bad old Trump administration. They were supposed to get $1 billion bailout of CTA, which nobody rides for all sorts of obvious reasons, and also they needed more money to provide
funding for abortion and for healthcare for illegals.
Yeah, for illegal immigrants for sure. They couldn't sustain that. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, well, that's another interesting one. I love how the press is reporting how Governor Pritzker's cut this healthcare spending for illegal immigrants. We're going to save $300 million by cutting it back on those younger than 65. What they don't say is that they continue to provide health care for illegal immigrants who are older than 65. And so we continue to. And by the way, they canceled a $50 million property tax relief fund. So we continue to prioritize illegal immigrants over everyday Illinois.
$50 million property tax relief fund. That's funny.
And that's a joke.
That's funny. Yeah. Who's that going to? Pritzker? Because of the toilet thing?
Exactly.
$65 million to promote electronic vehicles. $21 million for abortion programs. $39 million for services for illegal immigrants, and $87.8 million for DEI initiatives. I thought we were supposed to stop with all these DEI initiatives.
I haven't seen that one yet. We have to look at that.
Yeah, this is.
I like the Bookie Reemployment Act too, increasing taxes on DraftKings and other online gambling
25
outlets, and so that's going to put your neighborhood bookie back in business. He's going to be able to be competitive, and so that's a good thing. That's a job creator.
Well, yeah. Well, this is another big negative of this budget. Again, is they're going after sin taxes. They're going after the poor guy who smokes and vapes or whatever he does, and who gambles. So more sin taxes to balance the budget. That's been one of the big outcomes of the last 3 or 4 years is go after the sin taxes to balance.
I mean, honestly, I don't know if they could start taxing the air we breathe. That's the only thing I can think of next.
So I wonder if there is a like the equivalent of a sugar tax in here, if people ever get wise to it. So I don't know. This half of this electorate is so completely lobotomized. I don't know that anything registers, but this $1.50 environmental impact fee on every delivery by a vehicle, the retailer shall not add the fee to the price or charge for the retail delivery, showing the total fee as a charge that is separate and distinct from the price and any other taxes or fees imposed on the retail delivery. Okay. So anyway, this little surcharge, environmental impact fee. That's fun. This little surcharge on all your on deliveries, and whether or not that if that registered, I don't know. Even though it's $1.50, like I said, it's like the sugar tax. Maybe something like that sparks a revolt because people, get food and everything they purchase now delivered.
Well, yeah, I mean, and it should. You know, they're calling it the pizza. They're trying to call it the pizza tax, right? One side's calling it the environmental impact fee, and the other side's trying to call it what it really is, right? The pizza tax, and and all the stuff that you get delivered. I think it's pretty phenomenal. $1.50 per, and you've got people doing all kinds of orders these days. It's not. Again, it's not insignificant. People try to blow it off as $1.50, but you got to just add all these taxes up, right? It's all the nickel and diming that is what eventually might tick people off, and it does. This is why a lot of people leave. They kind of add it all up, but many people can't.
I mean, obviously, we don't have a revenue problem. We have a spending problem. But do you think this will resonate on a higher scale as Pritzker tries to become our next president?
Well, I think it will, and I think you got to point this out. It's interesting that he went after this sports betting, but that hit the stocks of these companies, because now Wall Street's wondering whether other states are going to go after sports betting, and so this is the kind of leadership that Pritzker's providing, right? How to mess things up a little bit more nationwide, not just in Illinois.
Yeah. Don't gamble, but please gamble. Don't gamble your mortgage payment, but please do, because we've already budgeted for and spent the money we expect to realize from you gambling.
Yeah, don't smoke and don't take those pouches. Yeah, but smoke. We need you to smoke. We need you to
don't drink, but drink.
Suck on those Zen patches or whatever they're called.
It's enlightened. It's forward-looking. It's progressive. It's wonderful. It's equitable. It's all of those things. All of those beautiful lies that we tell each other and then get regurgitated back to us by Jim Edgar. Ted Dabrowski, President, WirePoints, wirepoints.org, all things Illinois policy related. Thanks, Ted.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Listen to podcasts of Dan and Amy from the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
Can you afford not to have effective video surveillance? Is your outdoor inventory at risk? Theft and vandalism can hit your bottom line hard. Stop these events before they happen. Monitor your business 24/7 with alarm detection systems. We prevent crime with live operators watching video alerts, ensuring your assets and employees are secure. It's not worth the liability when you can effectively protect what matters most. Call ADS at 1-630-844-6322 or visit adsalarm.com for a free demo. Alarm license number 127000143. Spending too much on security guards to patrol your property? With rising crime rates, guards may not be enough. And the cost, it's adding up fast. At Alarm Detection Systems, we offer a more innovative solution. Live video monitoring. Cameras provide extra coverage in even the hardest to reach areas. Unlike guards, they never get intimidated. Our operators watch video alerts in real time, cut costs, increase coverage, and stay secure. Call ADS at 1-630-844-6322 or visit adsalarm.com for a free demo. Alarm license number 127000143.
Welcome back to Ask Hasselus.
How do you get pee out of an old mattress?
By trading in that old mattress for a new Beauty Rest or Sealy Posturepedic.
But that'll cost a lot of money.
Not at Hasselus Mattress. Through Monday, trade in your old mattress and get additional savings of $248 off a queen and $348 off a king. Plus, next day delivery and haul away of the old mattress for P.
What was that?
Sorry, I meant for free.
Sure you did.
Open 9 to 9. Find an employee-free showroom near you at Hasselus.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
We'll talk trade, tariffs, taxes, spending, all of that and more with Steve Moore, economist, and the Trump Economic Miracle and the Plan to Unleash Prosperity Again author, Steve Moore at 8:08.
Yeah, making a rare Tuesday appearance, right? Today we're going to have windy, warm weather continues. Intervals of some clouds and sunshine, a high of 87. Tonight, a thunderstorm likely, and then tomorrow, looks like a washout, rain all day. Cooler, a high of 66 degrees. It is now 8 a.m. WIND, Chicago.
He says the economy is booming. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. And President Trump posted on Truth Social overnight it's because of the tariffs that have so far survived a legal challenge with a ruling blocking them on appeal. Blocked. Now, those tariffs have led a lot of countries to negotiate.
White House officials are putting out the word to their counterparts around the world. If you want to make a trade deal, we need to see your best possible offer by tomorrow.
Fox's Peter Doocy at the White House, where the president accuses China of violating terms of a recent agreement to lower the tariffs.
The Chinese side, rather, is now saying that that is not true and that instead of reflecting on its own actions, the United States has groundlessly accused China of violating the consensus, a claim that grossly distorts the facts.
The accused attacker in what happened in Boulder, Colorado, is now talking about it.
He said he wanted them all to die. He had no regrets, and he would go back and do it again.
Acting U.S. Attorney Bishop Gruel also says he admitted planning it for a year and unable to buy a gun since he's in the U.S. illegally. He used a flamethrower and Molotov cocktails, injuring 12 people.
Some of whom still remain in the hospital this morning. Solomon is facing 16 counts of attempted murder, plus additional charges for using an incendiary device and attempted use of an incendiary device. He is also looking at a federal hate crime charge.
Fox's Alicia Cooney. The attack targeted a group peacefully demonstrating, calling on Hamas to release hostages in Gaza. In Hamas, an attack near a food distribution site attack killed 27 people. A Wisconsin man is under arrest accused of trying to frame somebody, hoping to get him deported, writing letters threatening the president.
Prosecutors say Demetric D. Scott wrote the threat, which included Ramon Morales Reyes' return address. ICE agents nabbed Reyes after he dropped his child off for school in Milwaukee, leading to an announcement that he would self-deport to Mexico. But a handwriting sample proved that Reyes had not penned the letter, eventually leading to Scott.
Gary Baumgarten, America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It's 72 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560. The Answer Newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. A woman's hospitalized in critical condition after she was struck by a vehicle on the Eisenhower Expressway on the west side. The incident happened late Sunday night in the outbound lanes of 290 near Independence Boulevard. The driver of the vehicle stopped at the scene and cooperated with authorities. CTA, Metra, and PACE officials, along with union leaders, are warning that they are on the path to job and service cuts. Perry Williams reports.
The statement was made after the Illinois legislature gave the green light to a budget that does not address a $770 million deficit for the RTA. Governor J.B. Pritzker says he's seeking statewide transit reform.
We need to make sure we're addressing the needs of commuters, and not just in the city of Chicago or in Cook County or in the collar counties, but all across the state.
Legislators could head back to Springfield this summer for a special session to address the issue.
United Airlines is getting more gates at O'Hare Airport. The Chicago Department of Aviation is allowing 5 additional gates as part of the city's 2025 date reallocation process. The airport's gates are reallocated based upon how many flights each carrier flew in the previous year. Under the new plan, United will have a total of 95 gates, while American Airlines will have 59 gates. Last month, American filed a lawsuit to prevent the city from giving United additional gates. News is a service of almostfreeteeth.com. What if you could save on average 90% off for dental implants and get 100% of your smile back? With a Blue Cross Blue Shield PPO or FEP, it's possible. Check if you qualify at almostfreeteeth.com. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
I'm Charles Payne, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Dollar General shares are rallying up 6.5%. It's raising expectations for the year after upbeat earnings and higher sales. Dollar General says the update assumes it will be able to mitigate a significant portion of the potential impact of tariffs, though the company says consumer spending could be pressured by tariff-related price increases. The Clinton nuclear power plant in Illinois will be providing electricity for Meta Platforms' artificial intelligence. The plant is near Decatur, Illinois, about 150 miles southwest of Chicago. Meta will buy power generation for 20 years in a deal with Constellation Energy. Reports this morning say 20,000 Volkswagen employees in Germany have agreed to buyouts. The company is looking to cut 35,000 jobs. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Cosola. Invested in you.
Hugh Hewitt sees a tight bond.
I think Donald Trump and Bibi Netanyahu are on the same team 100% of the time. And those who are looking, they didn't consult on the Houthi deal. We actually don't know that. Somehow there's daylight. I don't see it. I don't believe it. They want to find reasons to be alarmed. There isn't any reason to be alarmed.
The Hugh Hewitt Show. Afternoons at 2, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer. Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life. It's almost time once again for the annual AM 560 golf outing presented by Signature Bank. And this year, AM 560 is proud to partner with the Tunnel to Towers Foundation to help them support America's first responder and military heroes, including homeless veterans, and to help America never forget 9/11. This year, our golf outing is happening on Wednesday, June 18th at McRae Memorial Golf Club in Barrington. When you purchase a foursome to join us, you'll enjoy a full day of golf, meals, an awards reception, and a silent auction. And if you're a business owner, when you purchase a foursome, you'll also receive an AM 560 marketing campaign, which includes 25 one-minute commercials to air on AM 560 Monday through Friday between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m., and a free digital marketing analysis. Reserve your foursome today at 560theanswer.com/golf. That's 560theanswer.com/golf. Sponsored in part by Quick Delivery Service and by State Farm Insurance Agent Anthony DeGrotto.
Hey, John. Need any help over there?
Oh, hey, Chris. Oh, I'm good. Just digging some new flower beds and planting a couple shrubs.
You sure you should be doing that? You know, with your high blood pressure and all?
It's all good. I got my blood pressure under control now.
Really? New medication?
No, a superfood juice that is absolutely delicious.
A juice?
Yeah, it's 120 Life. It has 6 natural ingredients that have shown to control blood pressure.
Wow, in a juice?
Yep. So controlling my blood pressure tastes great and I feel great.
I wonder if 120 Life could fix my procrastination getting yard work done.
Not sure about that, but it sure helped me.
Certainly has. You and your yard look great.
Try 120 Life risk-free and get a 2-week trial pack. Order the 8-ounce drink or powdered mix. Go to 120life.com and use coupon code 560 to save 15% and get free shipping. They're so sure it can noticeably lower your blood pressure in 2 weeks, they'll give your money back if you're not satisfied. Order now. 120life.com. Use coupon code 560 at checkout to save 15% and get free shipping.
Hey, it's Mike Rowe, and if you want to do business with a company that actually stands for something, switch to Pure Talk. I did. Sure, I appreciate being on America's most dependable 5G network with unlimited talk and text for just $20 a month. But what I really appreciate is Pure Talk's commitment to our military and to our skilled workforce. That matters to me. Save 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say keyword Mike Rowe. Pure Talk, a wireless company that actually stands for something.
Surprise! Your expenses this month were way higher than you expected! Also, you forgot to renew your website domain and now you're in a bidding war!
You should see the look on your face.
At Progressive, we know small business owners don't usually like surprises because they cost you money. But a good surprise that could save you money? Getting a commercial auto quote from Progressive.
Plus, the fridge died in the break room and now everything smells weird!
Surprise yourself. See if you can save in as little as 7 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
From the Team Hawkburg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 19 minutes, 22 minutes outbound. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Vernon Interchange, 46 minutes, 47 minutes outbound. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 50 minutes outbound, about 30 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, about 48 minutes, outbound about 64 minutes. That's due to a crash. 2 left lanes are blocked between First and the Tri-State Tollway. Traffic is a service of Fox Valley Coins. This is a great time to bring in your scrap, gold, jewelry, and sterling flatware. Cash or check is offered on the spot. FoxValleyCoins.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
A blend of sun and clouds, windy and warm. A high today 87. Periods of rain, thunderstorm this evening. Could be some ponding on the roads, low 58. Periods of rain, thunderstorm for tomorrow. Leftover shower in the afternoon. The high tomorrow, 66. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering smart security systems to homes and businesses. Call Goldilocks at 708-889-5600.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Don't blink as the world turns. There's always something new in the trade and tariff front. That's what happens when you do Liberation Day in Moss. So the steel tariffs consummating, backing the Nippon U.S. Steel merger.
Big announcement on last Friday. Trump went to Pennsylvania.
And so, and then he imposed 50% steel tariffs. And the EU has responded, suggesting they're unhappy. And Kevin Hassett, who is one of Trump's econ advisors, had this to say about that on Sunday on Clinton Foundation Donor Zero show.
Right. Well, the problem is there's an OECD study, it comes from Paris, that says that because Chinese steel production is something like double the global capacity, the steel industries all across the world are in trouble because of China dumping of steel. And China's doing that not just because they love us and they want to give us nice steel. They're doing that because it prepares them to win a war because they're the only ones who can make steel. And so President Trump is going to make sure that that never happens in the U.S., that we don't have the steel we need in case of war, and Europe should do that as well.
Yeah, but I asked you about the European response. I mean, they say they're going to...
The European response is they should protect their steel, too. I mean, the bottom line is that we can't go into... We don't ever want to have a war. In fact, President Trump, we expect, is going to have a wonderful conversation about the trade negotiations this week with President Xi. That's our expectation. But the bottom line is that we've got to be ready in case things don't happen the way we want. Because if we have cannons but not cannonballs, then we can't fight a war. And if we don't have steel, then the U.S. isn't ready and we're not preparing ourselves for something. And if we're not strong, then that's when bad things happen. So we have to show strength. We have to have a steel industry that's ready for American defense.
The argument of the autarkist. Philip Bell, he's a rep for the Steel Manufacturers Association, was on with Stuart Varney. Okay, so if you're going to erect barriers to the importation of steel from China, and the EU will follow suit with respect to steel on the European continent, then do steel manufacturers here, domestic steel manufacturers, are they prepared to meet the market demand? Here's Philip Bell's response.
There is enough modern and efficient steelmaking capacity here in the U.S. to meet any increases in domestic demand. And that's why we support what the president is doing with his trade and tariff policy. I think he is determined to make sure that as much of the steel as possible that's used in our critical infrastructure, manufacturing, energy, and national defense is made here in America, by Americans, and for Americans.
For more on the ongoing trade and tariff conversations and policy promulgations, Steve Moore, economist, author of The Trump Economic Miracle and the Plan to Unleash Prosperity Again, co-authored with Art Laffers. Steve, thanks for joining us.
Hey, good morning, guys.
So what about what Kevin Hassett had to say? Does he really believe that?
Kevin Hassett is a very smart economist, good friend of mine, really a top-notch guy. I don't necessarily agree with him on this. I think that, and by the way, I'm not a national security or a defense expert, so these national security concerns I'm not really well qualified to comment on. But I will tell you this, that we did try steel tariffs in Trump's first term. And just in terms of, if the objective here is to save manufacturing jobs, it's not a very good way to do it, Dan and Amy, because what we found is that there are a couple thousand jobs in the steel industry that were saved by the steel tariffs. But at the same time, we lost thousands and thousands and thousands of other manufacturing jobs, including in the auto industry, because our steel was more expensive. And so as a job-saving strategy, it doesn't work. We'd be much better off. Look, if the Chinese wanted to give us steel for free, would we have a problem with that?
I don't know. We take planes from Qatar for free, so yeah, why not free Chinese steel, right?
So, I mean, one of the ironies of this, I was, and I was listening to Kevin talk, and again, he's a good friend of mine, and I think there's some wisdom in what he's saying. But, on the other hand, the Chinese have a cornered the market on some of these precious minerals, and now they're saying they're not going to sell them to us. So, on the one hand, it's evil if they don't sell the stuff to us. On the other hand, it's evil if they do sell it to us. We ought to, have some steel making capacity in the United States, but I think we're much better off as an economic powerhouse through free trade. It's worked for us for 100 years. Why would not now be different?
On the good news front, I did want to get to this because energy policy is so mission critical to our economic prosperity. We haven't heard much from him, but he's been doing some good work. Interior Secretary Doug Burgum, former North Dakota governor.
He's awesome.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
He's up in Alaska, and he was there for the sort of announcement of this LNG pipeline that's going to be built next to the existing 48-year-old pipeline in Alaska, and here's how that went.
The Alaska LNG pipeline's been talked about for decades. This is not a new thing. I want to be clear. Where do we stand right now with permitting? If there's funding, could this actually go forward?
The permits virtually are all in line, issued, and ready to go for the Alaska pipeline. And what you've had in the background of your shot here, Brian, is this amazing technological marvel called the original pipeline, celebrating its 48th anniversary. Starts at sea level, ends at sea level, crosses over 4,100 feet, goes through 3 mountain passes. You see it above ground here because of the permafrost. This thing was built in 2 years and 2 months, and it's been one of the great gifts of technological innovation that's helped our whole country and helped the world. Building the Alaska LNG pipeline on a route right next to it is simpler than what these guys did 48 years ago because the route is there, there's a road there. They had to build all the infrastructure and the road the same time they were building this. So yes, the permits are in place. There's additional land transfers that are occurring between the Department of Interior and the state of Alaska. And then, of course, we've got the resource. I mean, where in the world do you have an existing oil pipeline that's can double its capacity? You don't have to build a new pipeline. It's just an existing pipeline. At its peak, it carried 2.2 million barrels a day. Now it's only 500,000. You could actually quadruple what you put through it.
Drill, baby, drill, Steve.
I guess the Secretary of Interior doesn't care about the caribou and the polar bears. By the way, they say that, of course, facetiously because many years ago I did a study on the Great Alaska Pipeline, which really was a marvel, and it's amazing that it actually got built. It's been huge for our economy that we've been able to get all of this oil from the North Slope and from other areas of Alaska, which are incredibly oil and gas rich. And the environmentalists totally, opposed that. They threw their bodies in front of the pipeline. Oh, my God, the caribou. We're not going to have any deer or caribou or polar bears anymore. And, of course, it's been a huge success. But I wouldn't be surprised if the environmentalists try to throw up objections to this, too. But we obviously need this. And it ties into what we were just talking about, by the way. If we want to be number one economically, if we want to produce steel, it would help a lot if we had abundant and cheap energy, right? Because steel production uses a lot of energy. So this is good news. I love Doug Burgum. He's been a fantastic Interior Secretary. He's drill, baby, drill, mine, baby, mine. We can get a lot of these resources here in our own backyard.
Yeah, and I mean, it also speaks to, a bygone era when we could build a pipeline, the technology of the day 50 years ago, in 2.5 years, and not be hamstrung the way we are with every project to increase our capacity to be energy independent,
By the way,
as we have been today.
Stories, when they talked about, it's going to kill the caribou and the deer and the polar bears. No, actually what they do, because a lot of the stuff is warm, the liquid and the gas that comes through so the pipelines are warm. So the caribou and the polar bears, they rub their backs on the pipes.
Oh, there you go. Free massage. What could go wrong?
Yeah.
But it's a safer form of transportation than taking trucks. I mean, because they get into accidents. The pipeline it's the way to go.
Pipelines.
Nobody.
That's why I could never understand. You're quite right about that. I mean, why did the left put so much objection to pipelines? That's by far the most environmentally sensitive way to transport oil and gas through pipelines, not on trucks and not on rail and having accidents and things like that. So This is good news. This is a president who wants to produce our resources. We should do that. We have probably $50 trillion of oil and gas in this country, and we have another $10 trillion of minerals. We should go at it, get it. It's right in our backyard. Why should we have to get it from China and Russia and all these other, Saudi Arabia and the Middle East?
Hey, have you watched Blown Away, Exposing the Wind Scam by Steve Cortez?
No.
It's a
I
new
haven't
documentary
seen that.
that's out. You can see it out on X, but basically he talks about the TV show Landman, that he got it right, that windmills make no economic sense and they harm the environment and pollute America's
okay. So this is called
vistas.
Blown Away?
Blown Away. You should see it. It's
And
25
what is it? How do I
minutes
get
long.
it? What is it at? What
Just
channel
go
is
on
it
X and go on X or Twitter.
Okay.
And Stephen
got it.
Cortez.
He's a good friend. I have to watch that.
Yeah,
the windmills. By the way, we've spent, and by my estimate, something like $500 billion on windmills of taxpayer money, and today we get about 2 or 3% of our energy from windmills.
The big beautiful bill.
There's been a high return on our investment, wouldn't you say?
Yes. On the tax and spend side, Elon Musk observed this week that he learned from his time at Doge that a bill can be big or beautiful, but probably not both. Nonetheless, the big beautiful bill is scheduled to move by Independence Day. You think that's tracking as advertised?
Well, let me just say one thing about Elon Musk, because I really do view him as a hero and a patriot for what he did and came to Washington and really exposed to the American people, how rampant the fraud and theft and thievery and the amount of abuse and waste in our government. And he discovered that it was in the hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars. And for doing that, he was completely pilloried by the left and turned into some kind of super villain, when in fact I don't understand why the left loves to defend waste in our government, but they do. And so I wrote my column this week was called "Did Elon Musk drain the swamp, or did he drown in it?" And I'm not so sure which it was, but there's no saying in Washington, no good deed ever goes unpunished, and that certainly applies to Elon Musk. Now, on the budget situation, listen, this the more I look at these numbers, Dan and Amy, in terms of how much is being spent, the more outrageous it is. I mean, we, under the current baseline of spending over the next 10 years, we're expected to spend, the budget's supposed to go from $7 to $10 trillion. So over that period, we're supposed to ready with this $85 trillion is how much the federal government is supposed to spend. You know how much it spends under the Republican, the evil, mean-spirited, cold-blooded, Republican budget? You know how much it spends?
$83 trillion.
83.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Draconian.
The world's going to come to an end.
Yeah.
We only spent $83 trillion. I mean, the kittens are going to die, and people aren't going to get health care coverage, and grandma's going to be thrown over the cliff in her. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. So this is not a budget that is serious about cutting spending. I'm more and more furious about this. I think Ron Johnson of Wisconsin and Rand Paul are two of the only people who are actually serious about doing anything about, the rampant growth of a government in this country. And it's a sad situation. I don't know, Dan, what do you got? Dan, what do you think?
I think that's a pretty fair summation. But the reality is, this is going to move in some form something similar to what the House passed, I suspect, and it will get done by July 4th because it has to get done for the tax relief side of it, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, the only thing I disagree with you a little bit about, I think I would love to see it on July 4th. That would be a great. And man, you're right. We absolutely have to, pass this tax bill, or else everybody's tax bills are going to go way, way up starting January 1st.
Yeah, we didn't vote for that.
Yeah, failure is not an option here, but I think July 4th is a little bit ambitious, Dan. I mean, I hope you're right. I think the sooner the better. But I've been in this town a long time, and they always wait to the last minute. When we passed the bill, the original 2017 Tax Cut and Jobs Act, it passed on December 22nd of 2017. So they always wait till the last minute.
That was
I hope you're right.
That was a different time and a different leverage that the president had at the time. But I mean,
Well, you have much more confidence in this Congress than I do.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying I don't really see. I mean, certainly I mean, Ron Johnson, Rand Paul providing some pushback on the spend side, but that's really about it. So it's not the spend side that's going to hold things up because they're going to get more serious about spending reduction all of a sudden. That doesn't seem likely.
Well, the thing, I know we're out of time, but the thing that's infuriating to me is, and I know you all in high-tax Illinois love this, but we quadrupled the state and local tax deduction.
Right.
All we're doing by doing that, Dan, is basically, subsidizing Illinois and New York and New Jersey and California for the sky-high taxes. I don't understand the logic of that.
Yeah, me neither. But that's politics in the big city. Steve Moore, economist, author of The Trump Economic Miracle and the Plan to Unleash Prosperity Again. Steve, thank you.
Okay, guys. Take care. Have a great week.
You too, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Attention! Have you racked up $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by making minimum payments? With credit card debt reaching all-time highs, National Debt Relief is notifying consumers about significant debt relief options currently being made available to help those with overwhelming credit card debt. These options may reduce a large portion of credit card debt for those who qualify. You don't need to declare bankruptcy or take out a consolidation loan, and you may only have to pay back a fraction of what you owe, even if you have bad credit. National Debt Relief has already reduced the credit card debt for more than 550,000 consumers, so don't wait. If you owe $10,000, $20,000, or even $100,000 in credit card debt, you can now take advantage of this financial debt relief as the cost of living continues to skyrocket. To check what debt reduction you may qualify for, call 800-836-3388. 800-836-3388. Again, that's 800-836-3388.
Well, I love Goldilocks security of peace of mind. I can sit and see who's ringing my doorbell right here in the station on my phone because I have the app. It's the best. You can even talk to the person. They cover it all. And Goldilocks state-of-the-art smart home security system doesn't just record crime. It prevents it. With Goldilocks real-time monitoring, the police are notified immediately, and every second counts if someone breaks into your home. Would you have time to react? Goldilocks has given me and my family much needed peace of mind. They also offer commercial security systems for any size business. Help out like-minded companies, folks. Goldilocks has hundreds of 5-star Google reviews and has served the Chicagoland area since 1981. And when they come over and give you your free install estimate, ask them how they got the name Goldilocks Security. It's great. Tell them also that Amy Jacobson sent you. That would be me. And Goldilocks will include 3 months of monitoring for free with any new install. Call them today, 708-889-5600. That's 708-889-5600. Again, 708-889-5600. Or visit them online at GoldilocksInc.com.
If you're living with pain, see how Relief Factor can help.
I'm an artist and I'm in my studio. I listen to the radio all day and I'm hearing the ads about Relief Factor. And I've got pain in my neck and it's getting worse. And I'm thinking, well, I'm going to go ahead and order this. 2 weeks later, I've got much better range of motion. If you're experiencing pain at a certain point in life, I would get Relief Factor.
Fight pain naturally with Relief Factor. Go to ReliefFactor.com and get your 3-week quick start today. Only $19.95.
At Straight Talk, we are all about no-brainers. Calling Grandma for her recipe, no-brainer. Streaming one more episode at 2 a.m., big no-brainer. Getting real unlimited data where you buy bananas, the ultimate no-brainer. Switch now and get a free Samsung Galaxy A16 5G or Moto G Power 5G 2025 with select plans. Straight Talk, real unlimited data. Available at Walmart and straighttalk.com. Offer valid through 7/20/25. Taxes and fees apply. Requires in-store activation of single line gold unlimited plan or higher. For network management practices, visit straighttalk.com/terms. Copyright 2025 Verizon.
Are you growing your manufacturing team this year and need new employees? Turn to Monarch Technical Services in Rolling Meadows. They've been leading the Chicago staffing industry for manufacturing and engineering since 1987. You'll appreciate their vetting process, payment terms, and dedication towards excellence. They meet every candidate in person to interview and test for specific skills. Monarch assesses experience by using blueprint, shop math, part measurement, and CNC program exams. Monarch Technical offers unique payment terms. You now have 6 months to pay the finder's fee, and if for any reason the candidate leaves your employment, the fee ends. This allows you to make sure direct hire employees are fitting in before fees are paid in full. So if you're growing your manufacturing team this year and searching for exceptional talent and attractive payment terms, contact Monarch Technical Services at 847-342-1221 or visit them online at monarchtechnical.com. That's monarchtechnical.com. Continuing the privilege of enriching manufacturing for 38 years. Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank that cares about your business and is invested in your success. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Chris Johnson, CEO of Classic Cinemas and proud customer of Signature Bank. We are a local family-owned business that is known for free refills on all sizes of popcorn, soft drinks, and ices. With over 9,000 heated recliners in 16 locations, we marry the traditions of the past with today's state-of-the-art technology. Throw in a 30-minute guarantee and an after-movie mint, and you have the perfect night out. As we strive to make every guest our priority, Signature Bank does the same with their customers. The team at Signature Bank is interested in taking my company forward. They have all the resources and solutions of the big banks, but they customize their offerings to meet my business needs. The customer always comes first with Signature Bank.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality. Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
AM 560, The Answer.
The other day, we brought you Greta Thunberg's sailing the high seas on her way to Gaza.
Oh, she's my hero.
With a few other ankle-biting simpletons. They're going to, quote-unquote, stop the genocide in Gaza. Well, with her
who?
is Davos Seaworth. Have you watched Game of Thrones yet?
No, it's on my list.
Irish actor Liam Cunningham, who played Davos Seaworth in Game of Thrones, is with Greta and company. Thankfully, apparently, they avoided that Mount Etna eruption as they were making their way to the Middle East.
Okay, hi, I'm Liam, Yasmin, Tiago. If you look in the background, there's a beautiful boat. These beautiful people are going to be going to break the siege in Gaza.
With them?
They're going to break this. These 8 people are going to break the siege in Gaza. Good luck with that, Davos.
Oh, please bring your percussions.
As David Hersani posted on X, he couldn't even take King's Landing in the Battle of Blackwater Bay, loser. That's a Game of Thrones reference. Yes, yeah, very good, David. Yeah, very good.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 5:38, I suppose these latest FBI revelations around the Russian collusion hoax, the Mueller investigation, are worth noting, so we will note them. 8:38.
But first, let's swing by that newsroom once again with the headlines.
Good morning. It's 72 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. The Supreme Court is denying challenges to bans on assault-style guns and high-capacity magazines. Mark Mayfield reports.
The High Court turned down 2 cases that challenge a Maryland law banning assault-style weapons and a Rhode Island restriction on magazines. Laws in both states will remain in effect as a result. Other lawsuits over similar bans across the U.S. are ongoing, which means the Supreme Court is likely to see the issue again. 3 conservative justices said they voted to take it up, while Justice Brett Kavanaugh said he would like the court to hear a case related to the issue soon.
Today is National Egg Day, and there's some good news to go along with that.
The price of eggs has dropped nearly 61% since March. The latest data from the U.S. Department of Agriculture shows white large shell eggs now average about $2.52 per dozen. That's down sharply from over $8 a dozen during the first week of March. A study in April by Clarify Capital said over 30% of Americans had stopped buying eggs due to the high costs. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
News is a service of Goldilocks, offering Chicagoland's state-of-the-art smart security systems to protect your home or business. AM 560 listeners receive 3 months of free monitoring with new installs. Get peace of mind by calling Goldilocks at 708-889-5600. That's 708-889-5600. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Mike Gallagher believes we need to stand together.
The mainstream media to explode with joy. MAGA is turning on Trump. You get the picture? And this is precisely why so many of us are reluctant to pile on. We give the haters and the doubters we give them an opportunity to batter the Trump agenda.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Charlie Kirk at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
Maha starts with Virago, making America healthy again. With the worst flu season in years, you need an immune system boost. The stronger your immune system, the stronger your body fights and defends against So get Virago. Virago Immune Enhancement Support is a unique blend of 23 nutraceuticals, ingredients that have been available as individual nutraceuticals, but now working in synergy to maximize their effects. Recommended by medical physicians, dentists, and other healthcare professionals, Virago is the nutraceutical cocktail for immune support. Developed to strengthen your immune system for quick response to immune challenges, for short and long-term immunity, antiviral, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant. It even protects your heart, kidneys, liver, all in a unique liquid supplement for better absorption. Order online at myvirago.com. That's myvirago.com. myvirago.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. Quality ingredients for optimum health. Maha, making America healthy again starts with Virago.
Planning a wedding is a monumental task. After months and months of preparation, on your wedding day, you have a lot to think about. The flowers, the catering, the bridal party, the DJ, the seating chart. It can be overwhelming, and no one wants all of that stress to take away from the joy of the moment. That's why you need a wedding photographer you can trust to capture those important moments so that no matter what happens on your wedding day, you'll have those memories to enjoy for years to come. For over 30 years, brides and their families have trusted Tom Kaloran Photography with their wedding days. This locally owned family business will make sure you have lasting memories to share for years to come. Tom Kaloran Photography is the official photographer for AM 560 The Answer. To learn more and to see their portfolio, just visit TomKaloranPhotography.com. That's KILLORAN Photography.com. Or call them at 708-361-0025. Tom Kaloran Photography, capturing important life moments for over 30 years.
This hourly segment is brought to you by the Alpha Wealth Group, bringing the trilogy of estate, tax, and investment planning together. Visit alphawealthgroup.com for a free report.
From the Team Hawkberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 18 minutes, 25 minutes outbound. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 47 minutes. Outbound about 43 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 57 minutes. Outbound 39 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, about 42 minutes. Outbound, it's about 50 minutes. That's due to a crash involving a semi. It's now off on the right shoulder. It's going to be between Harlem and the Tri-State Tollway. This report is sponsored by ExpressPros.com. Tired of feeling alone in your job search? With just one connection, you can find endless job opportunities. That connection is Express Employment Professionals. Don't go it alone. Visit ExpressPros.com to find the location nearest you. That's ExpressPros.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Clouds and some sun, windy and warm. A high today 87. Periods of rain, thunderstorm. It'll be breezy tonight. Could be some ponding on the roads, low 58. Rain, thunderstorm for tomorrow, then a leftover shower, high 66. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
All right, time is running out to be part of our annual golf outing presented by Signature Bank. We are once again partnering with the Tunnel to Towers Foundation, and we're excited to help raise money for them on Wednesday, June 18th at McCray Memorial Golf Club in Barrington. We have foursomes. We have twosomes available. And when you join us, you'll enjoy a full day of golf, either in the morning or in the afternoon, a shotgun start. We have prizes for the winning foursome, longest drive, closest to the pin, yada, yada, as well as a silent auction. And if you own a business or run the marketing for a business and purchase a foursome, you'll also receive an AM 560 marketing campaign. It's a win-win for your company, fun day of golf, and helping the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. We'll give you 25 one-minute commercials. Great deal. Go to 560theanswer.com/golf. That's 560theanswer.com/golf. Sponsored, presented by Signature Bank. And then we have a lot of other sponsors: Trump International Hotel, Monarch Technical Recruiting Services. The list goes on and on. But we will see you Wednesday, June 12th at McRae Memorial Golf Club in Barrington. This is breaking news. Because I told you that I shot a 41 for 9 holes at Sand Hollow, Dan, and you
how many
me.
pars, bogeys did you have?
I had a birdie on the first hole and some pars. But
a birdie and some pars. That adds up. That checks out.
But we have my neighbor Earl, who was with me at the time. Good morning, Earl. How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
Good.
Good. Thanks.
Yeah, so nobody believes that I shot a 41, and you're the only person who witnessed it. So can you confirm this breaking news, please?
Yes. Amy's my neighbor, and we've played golf together now probably 4 times. And the funny thing is, after playing about twice, her husband told me, he said, Amy says she's going to beat you pretty soon. And I thought that was pretty comical because she's very, very competitive.
I try not to be, but it's in my blood. I can't help it, Earl.
It is. I know that. What was great about that day, though, I got to mention, I think we had a 9:09 tee time or something, and I always offered, you want to ride up with us? She was playing with my wife and I, my wife Susan. And she said, no, I'm gonna. She took the Can-Am, the side-by-side up there. So she looks like a real redneck driving up there to the golf course, driving a Can-Am. And she got there about 5 minutes before tee time. So I usually get there a half hour ahead, hit some balls for a while. And
Sure, have a pop. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, when she got there, I think she had time to hit about 3 or 4 balls.
She's ready to go.
I said, let's go. We got to get up on the tee. And we got up there, and she busted one right down the middle. I hit a pretty good tee shot, too. But I think I chunked my wedge shot to the green. So anyway, I ended up with like double bogey on the first hole, and she hit her second shot like within six feet of the pin and starts out with a birdie. So she's already 3 shots ahead of me on the first hole. That worked out pretty good, yeah.
Earl, before we go on, are you by any chance being held against your will? If you're not able to speak freely, just give me some sort of indication and I'll send help.
No, everything's good here.
All right. All right. So the way you described your first hole is the way that golfer describes playing golf. The way a golfer doesn't describe playing golf is I shot 41. I had a birdie and some pars because I can't really make the numbers add up in my head, which is why we're skeptical about this 41 even with the birdie start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the par is 36, so she was 5 over.
5 over on the 6 over on the last 8. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you would attest to that?
Yeah. And
under threat of perjury and imprisonment, you would attest to that?
Yes, I would.
All right.
Thank you, Earl. Thank you.
She's really improved because when the first time she played with us, she was a lot more erratic, but she's we got her confidence up and all that stuff.
Do you remember how many greens she hit in regulation, Earl?
I would say that she probably hit at least half of them in regulation. And the ones she didn't hit, she was just off the green a little bit.
Uh-huh. And you're telling me that she was getting up and down or getting up and two-putting for bogey on those times that she missed the green? Is that what you're telling me? Is that your testimony?
Yeah, that sounds about right, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
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 You believe now? Are you a believer, Dan?
And then,
oh gosh, look at you're still the situation.
Who was giving who putts? Was she sweeping 6-footers, Earl, or were you being a little bit generous with the gimmies, or was everybody putting out?
No, when we do gimmies, they're like 2 feet, 2.5 feet
inside the leather.
They're going to make just to speed the play up a little bit. Yeah.
Inside the leather, and so we didn't see her sweep any 8 to 10 footers and just say that's good.
No, she wouldn't do that. I can't even give her a putt that's over 3 feet. She'll say, no, I got to make.
I know I hate that because I'm playing golf to play golf.
Yeah.
But Trump said the other day, President Trump said, if they tell you pick it up, You pick up the ball.
That's right. Well, that's the way the game is played, especially for Trump. Yeah. All right. And Earl, what kind of handicap do you carry?
I'm probably about a 14 or 15. I'm 5 or 6, 7 over every. I'm between 40 and 44. If I shoot over 45, I'm really not happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and you don't want to see Earl angry.
Couple doubles. Yeah.
All right.
But Earl is the best. He and Susan are the best to golf with. Because I don't know, there's something about you. You're very calming but authoritative. And when you want us to stop talking, you're like, ladies, watch my shot.
Yeah.
And that's cue for zip it, stop yammering.
Yeah. Well, somebody's got to be the adult in the group. All right, Earl. Well, we appreciate your eyewitness testimony. We'll take that under consideration as we continue this investigation and give it the weight that it deserves. We promise. And we look forward. Maybe you could come out here and play with Amy in Chicago over the summer.
It would be fun.
Yeah.
You've never been to Chicago, right?
No, I have not.
Ooh,
yeah, you're not
smart
missing anything.
man.
Yeah. Earl, thank you.
It's a beautiful city. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Earl. Appreciate it.
I appreciate it. It was nice talking to you guys. And Amy, looking forward to seeing you soon.
Okay. God bless. Take care.
Oh.
Bye. Well, at least I have nice neighbors.
Yeah,
in
no, that
Utah
is nice to play golf
compared
with you.
to,
They entertain you.
Here, where I have no neighbor friends or they moved or passed away.
All right, let's listen to, let's see what the jury thinks about Earl's testimony, if they found him to be a credible witness. I think I'm a little uncomfortable with Earl's testimony, not because I don't think he's an honest guy, but because
he served. He's an
because
honest man.
I think he likes you, he likes playing with you, and so it's coloring his judgment.
No.
And eyewitness testimony is notoriously unreliable.
Oh.
So,
really?
So
I think the investigation is over.
Who kept your score?
Oh, he did.
Uh-huh.
Electronically and on the card.
He was keeping it electronically?
Yeah, you can do it from the card. We're very advanced.
No, I know, but that's I hate that scoring.
Why?
I just old school.
No, we do old school, write it down too, and then,
And what's his wife's name?
Susan.
And did Susan attest to the score? Did she sign it?
Oh, yes.
The scorecard was signed.
No, I don't know.
Well, then I object to that and the scorecard being entered into evidence. It hasn't been authenticated. George in Naperville.
Yes, Dan, in no way has Earl convinced the morning answer jury pool.
Yeah, thanks for the call, George. Rick in Downers Grove.
Hey, good morning. Hey, I'm no lawyer, but from what I could hear, he didn't sound like he was 100% truthful, and I couldn't see him, of course, but I guarantee he was fidgeting around in the witness stand, which is an indicator.
Well,
and
the other thing, too, yeah. Go ahead, Rick. Go ahead. Your observations, Rick.
Well, I was just going to say, it sounds to me, Dan, like you're going to have to take her out and go one-on-one. Let's just see where you got.
Yeah. Well, that'll be painful for me. Thanks for the call, Rick.
Will you stop?
But here's the thing.
I shot respectably, too, at Oak Park Country Club, too. Whatever.
What'd you shoot? I don't know. I didn't lose a ball.
Well, you know why I didn't lose a ball? Because I had a caddy.
Well, yeah, but that's not how you characterize your score.
I know.
But so you don't remember what you shot at Oak Park, but you remember precisely that you shot this 41 at your track in Utah.
Yeah, Sand Hollow Resort.
Yeah,
the links course. Yeah.
The other thing too, Earl was struggling that day. It sounds like he starts with a double, so he's probably focused on his game, and he's not seeing you fluff your lie.
I did not
do all the little tricks.
I did not. I kept it straight, so I didn't have to kick it out of the rough ever. Because you want to be careful of rattlesnakes. I saw 2 of the largest rattlesnakes on that course. So I never go and get my ball.
Well, wait a second.
But anywho,
no, wait a second. No, this is important. I think we just found a conflict in the testimony. So Earl said, read back the testimony. Earl said you hit about half the greens, and the other greens you were just off. You were just near. Now you're saying I was in rattlesnake area rough.
No, not this time. Last time I was. Where my ball, and I went in to get it, and I heard, and these huge 2 of them, they were wrapped around each other, wrapped around the bush. Ooh, so scary. I don't like snakes.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, you should come to Sand Hollow. Do the show from there.
Play with Earl and Susan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They'd like you because they play ready golf, and they just,
Maybe I could help Earl get down to single digits a little bit. Sounds like
he is a good golfer, though. He just had a bad day that day.
Well, he's not a good golfer if he's a 14.
Well, okay.
I mean, it's
Wow.
nothing against it, but I mean that's not. I think Earl can be better.
And Earl will get better.
Yeah. Since we're on the topic of sports, I just did want to mention this, and since Earl sort of prevented us from getting to this FBI matter. Yeah, but
we can talk about it tomorrow. But it's important to talk about Earl.
The golf thing is more.
Yeah, and also
golf
sign
is
up
more
for our
important.
golf tournament, am560.com/golf. Okay.
The FBI was corrupt. You get the gist of it. So let's talk golf here. And also this too. The Chicago Fire has announced plans for a new stadium. They're going to take over that 78 property on Roosevelt Road and the Chicago River that they were talking about for potential White Sox stadium.
Really?
Yeah, a privately financed $650 million soccer stadium. Privately financed. That's nice.
Ooh.
At least they're not asking for taxpayer funds.
Chicago Fire? Okay.
Yeah, I think my understanding is that John Cass is involved. It's going to be called the John Cass Soccer Hut and Migrant Shelter. Because the migrant shelter is the fan base. The migrant shelter denizens would be the fan base for the Chicago Fire. So it's a bit of a twofer. And maybe you don't get the city or state financing on the front end, but you get it on the back end with the payments to house the migrants.
Okay.
/ soccer fans.
That's a big piece of property. I mean, are people actually going to go? I mean, people do go to. I've been to a few Chicago Fire games.
The Morningstar guy, founder Joe Mansueto, is the owner. I didn't know that. Anyway, he said it's going to be transformative for the club and I think for the city as well.
Dan's rolling his eyes. Transformative in what way?
It's going to be a Southside Wrigleyville.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are they gonna?
You soccer fans and your big dreams.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank, a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Bob Chavato, owner of Go Exceed and a customer of Signature Bank. By leveraging AI and machine learning, we provide data management solutions for corporations to save time and money managing their cellular devices. While we rely on machines to help us run our business, we believe personal relationships are essential. This is why we chose Signature Bank. Having a banking partner who understands our background, our business, and our priorities is fundamental to our success. Any bank can provide basic services, but having a bank that you can trust, one that looks out for you and treats your business like its own, that's irreplaceable.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Want to learn how Signature Bank can help turn your business vision into reality? Call Signature Bank at 773-467-5600 or visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
All right, so if you want to play golf and get out and enjoy things this spring, this summer, and pain is holding you back, pain in your hip, your knee, your elbows, your shoulder, don't sit around and wait for it to get better because it won't. Don't take pills to mask the pain because that's not doing anything. And if you don't want surgery, well, we have a solution for you, and it's QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics is different. These are not quick fixes, I should say. It's a revolutionary treatment that works to give your body long-term relief. Now, you'll meet with medical director Dr. Ashley Caravelli and her team. They'll explain how their regenerative treatments take your body's own healing power and helps restore damaged tissue. It's a fascinating process. They've helped tens of thousands of people. No masking the pain. They're going after the very source of it. So say goodbye to chronic pain and live your best life. Find out if you're a candidate. The consultation is free with appointments weekdays and Saturdays. Contact my good friends at QC Kinetics. The number to call, 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. Again, 312-809-5955.
Welcome back to Ask Hasslis. How do you get pee out of an old mattress?
By trading in that old mattress for a new Beauty Rest or Sealy Posturepedic.
But that'll cost a lot of money.
Not at Hassel's Mattress. Through Monday, trade in your old mattress and get additional savings of $248 off a queen and $348 off a king. Plus, next day delivery and haul away of the old mattress for pee.
What was that?
Sorry, I meant for free.
Sure you did.
Open 9 to 9. Find an employee-free showroom near you at Hasselist.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
I mean, I don't want to get graphic here, but I thought this piece about getting a colonoscopy was, well, this is news you can use kind of thing.
Okay. Have you ever had a colonoscopy?
No, I'm you know,
What?
at the
You
age you're
haven't?
supposed to get one, I guess.
Yeah, you're over 50. You should have one.
I like to be surprised. This is from Jim Solich, who's an author. I'm on day 3 of my colonoscopy preparation. Day 3.
Oh my!
I'm not doing it now.
No. There's no day 3. It's the night before you chug this big gallon of water that has some dry mix that you mix into it.
Are you calling
Sorry.
Jim Solich a liar?
Well, he's a bit of a pea hat wearer if he's preparing for day 3. I even worked here with Bruce Wolf about an hour before I had to get a colonoscopy. Actually,
Oh, jeez.
one time I got a colonoscopy in between live shots.
How many colonoscopies do you get? One every 3 weeks, or how many have you had?
I've had 2. And one I was here working, chugging the thing, and Bruce is like, I can't believe you're doing this. I said, what? If I have to go to the bathroom's right there. I'm fine.
Okay.
But the live shot one, can I tell you that real quick? I did a live shot downtown for Taste of Chicago.
Of your colonoscopy?
Did a live shot at 4, went to get a colonoscopy, and came back and did a live shot at 6. I made it in time. And my photographer dropped me off, and then he had a sign for me because they knocked me out.
Well,
it's crazy. I should write a book about all that crazy stuff I did. But anywho,
I
go
haven't
on.
really
with this.
I haven't really looked into it, but okay, that's what I sort of understood it to be. But now when I'm reading this guy's account, day 3.
Day 3, Dear Diary.
This is a routine colonoscopy you're supposed to get every 10 years. Last time the prep was minimal. As you just say, start drinking a gallon of a laxative solution at 6 the night before surgery, and try to finish it within 2 hours.
Might have a few blowouts here and there, but yeah, you'll get.
Okay. This time the process had more instructions than an IKEA desk.
Oh, ew, what's now?
I was told that 3 days before the procedure, I should follow a fiber-free, dairy-free, nut-free diet. After 2 days of that, I had to shift to clear liquid Jell-O diet. No smoothies, no soups, no fun.
My gosh.
But wait, then I was instructed to drink half the gallon of laxative sludge at 6 p.m. and then set the alarm for 2 a.m. to drink the other half. When the nurse told me this all over the phone, I said, you are aware that the night before open heart surgery, your only prep instructions are not to eat or drink after midnight. And I've
never heard instructions like that.
Well, I don't know about that either. There are now several easier ways to have your colon screened for cancer. The FDA recently approved a couple of blood tests. I saw that. I'm going to do that. None require preparation. The problem, as your gastroenterologist will tell you if you had one, is that no-hassle tests aren't as effective. Colonoscopy remains the gold standard. But 33% of American adults avoid or delay colonoscopies. The main reason, the unpleasant preparation. I'm in that 33% cohort.
Yeah. It's not that bad. Then they knock you out for a little bit, wake up and wish that you were knocked out longer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
it's not that, honestly, it's not. I mean, his preparation sounds awful.
Yeah.
No dairy, no grain.
Why
no
can't you just find
fiber? No, come on.
It can't. I mean, it can't. That all of that can't be that mission critical to get to the assessment.
No.
Well, anyway, we do have audio of Jim Solich's colonoscopy after he went through all the preparation and got to the doctor's office to be this gastroenterologist.
You know, if I did some sit-ups in the morning or bent over like this, I'd probably feel 100% better. Moon River. Whew. Thank you, Doc. You ever serve time? Breathe easy. Breathe easy. You using the whole fist, Doc? Just relax.
Oh, my God.
The great Emmett Walsh as the urologist in that scene in Fletch. So good.
Right.
So good.
All right. Thanks so much for making us part of your morning, part of your lives. Thanks to Justin Kosick, our technical producer, and Quinn McCarthy, our executive producer. We're back here Bright and early tomorrow morning. Today, enjoy it. Windy but warm. Some